All right, so where's your bottle, Chris? Where's your bottle? Let's do the ching ching. Ching ching. All right. Jovan, congratulations. Newly minted purple belt.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It feels good.
Does it?
So, where do I start with this? Because I think we need a little... So, we're here with Jovan. Jovan is...
Gayle.
Yes.
Now you know his name is actually Jovan, right?
Jovan. I say Jovan.
Jovan. People call me all kinds of things, man. I think I kind of settled on Jovan.
Okay, yeah. Jovan. What does your mom call you?
That's a good point.
What does your mom say?
Jovan. Yeah.
Jovan.
Yeah, that's what she says. Yeah.
Jovan.
Yeah. That's
with
what
that accent, Jovan.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what she says.
Like
yeah.
Akuma. We're like Akuma. Like, it's like
Jovan. Okay.
Yeah,
So Jovan.
Yep.
So where do I start with this? So quick backstory on Jovan. I've known you since I started grappling here. He has been a blue belt the entire time I've known him.
Okay.
The entire time
White belt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you are a doctor as well?
White belt.
Yep.
Doing your residency?
Yep.
So very sharp guy, always finding time to train despite super long schedules. I also remember you always doing stand-up with JB in the evenings, closing the place down, doing Muay Thai sparring. But what's awesome about today is I actually texted you earlier in the week. I talked to you about coming on after class today. I wish I could say I knew what was in store for you, but we are like post-promotions, and Paul sits us down right after class. We had a big class. Everyone's back now. And he had a little lump in his gi, which is like the telltale sign that there's like a goodie. There's a goodie. Is that a belt in your gi? You just happy to see me, sort of thing. And he calls up Jovan, and you get your purple belt.
So deserved.
So what were you? I'm sure you were surprised.
I mean, yeah, I was surprised when he came up with the lump. I kind of figured it was my time, because I was looking forward to promotions, right? Did the gauntlet with the white belts on the Thursday, but then I had to work the Saturday, so I missed the promotions, right?
Saving lives.
Yeah. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, great, maybe it's my time now.
So you knew,
sort of. I mean, yeah.
But you weren't tested.
I mean, I wasn't. I wasn't tested for a blue belt either, because it was the same situation again. I had to work.
Well, secretly, Paul had pulled me, Chris, and a bunch of people aside, and we had to test you on different skills.
Yes.
So I was like, no, I'm just fucking with you.
Chris, how well does Jovan smash you every time?
that would try footlocking him, see what he does. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be
that's not what
cool,
happened.
actually. Yeah.
No, I think just your body of work spoke for itself.
Yeah, man. That's I think that's sort of one of those things, right? Like the people who we have to ask Paul about probably don't have to get tested, right? Like, that's sort of it.
Cool. That's very flattering to me.
Man. Like, it's super well deserved, man. Like,
I think the purple looks good.
Oh yeah.
I think
it's very.
Hey man, I like purple. It's a great color. Yeah.
Purple's like the best belt. I'm telling you.
It's a great color.
So did you already like take a gym selfie and upload it? Like,
no, I honestly stay off social media. I mean,
You're
always
terrible
on.
At, like, social media.
I'm terrible at social media.
you need to be that person. You have to get the stripe, and you're in the gym, and you take the old like looking down at the belt, and like, well, this happened today. And hashtag one step closer.
Level up.
And then you write.
No offense, because a lot of my friends do that.
Then you write 3 paragraphs about motivation and how the the blood, sweat, and tears that went into this. No, that's not. No, I try to kind of minimize my social media presence.
What are your okay? So it's funny you said motivation, because I think there's one week we didn't record, and I wasn't here, whatever the case was, and you had spoken to Noah about like motivation, which.
Like, talk about motivation on the podcast.
Yeah, motivation. And that's really intriguing to me, because you appear to be one of the most self-motivated people at the gym. I mean, like, who else literally warms up before the podcast with bag work? I think you might be the only person who's done that, right? Like, so you're clearly self-motivated.
Yeah, no, but so you say that, but there are a lot of people who I look up to for motivation. For example, Noah was a blue belt when I started. Noah demonstrates the techniques for Paul in class now. Noah understands the technique.
I was a white belt.
That's what I'm saying. I was a blue belt when you started,
yeah.
right? But then Noah demonstrates the techniques in class with Paul. So initially, Noah's understanding of the technique is better than mine when he comes in, and Noah has been working for less time than I has been, been here for less time than I have. Now that is motivation, right? Victor, probably the same with Victor, because Victor is demoing techniques, and Victor is teaching as well. That's motivation, So I mean, I there are people who I look up to in here for motivation, but yeah, I would say I'm pretty motivated myself.
Your point though, Jovan, like Victor, Noah. I think the reason why, and it was with me a little bit too, when I was training more, Paul uses them as ukes because they've seen it. They sort of like know what to be doing. So, it's one of those things like to be a good pad holder is a skill, right?
Yeah.
Like, to help a person be a good, to look good while they're like hitting pads. The same thing is to be a good uke, is to be doing the right things to help with that part of the curriculum for that day. And I think just when it comes to Noah, Victor, just certain people, if they're here a lot, they see it a lot, and they help Paul be a better teacher at that very moment. So that's why I just to address that little point.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I understand that, but Noah's technique is good.
No,
Victor's technique is good.
Right?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so the technique is, so when you roll with them, the technique is good. Like Victor is 60 pounds lighter than me. And if Victor gets top control, it's not easy to deal with. It's actually rather difficult.
Yeah, which he's a wet water balloon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The lubricated water.
Lubricated water balloon.
It's very impressive. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I mean, and there's different things about different people that motivate me. For example, I mean, Chris, you've been doing a BJJ for 10 years, and you're in
15
years, and you're in here running a podcast. That's a lot of passion. Like, how do you keep that up for 15 years? You had a kid now.
So my secret to that, Jovan, is like being super mediocre at jiu-jitsu, but loving it. So you find ways to add value to the gym by being like a super nice guy who smiles a lot, being a decent instructor. And
telling people no twisting heel hooks.
Yeah, exactly. And keeping everybody safe, right? Like that's my addition to jiu-jitsu.
So you say that like it's not something to aspire to, but think about it. If you, as a white belt, come in here and you start getting smashed by people, right? And you meet somebody and he's like, no, you got to do this, understand this technique, and you're just not getting smashed, then they're here because of you. They're not here because of me. Like, I don't know how to teach anything.
And you also have that boo look of apathy. So it's like you go with these massive schizo white belts and you give them the boo look of apathy and then sweep them from closed guard and then mount them and just lay on top of them and show them the power of jiu-jitsu while showing no emotion in the process.
Exactly.
That's the quintessential jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. And Jamie is like that too. Brown belt Jamie.
Jamie Cardenas.
Yeah,
low-key schizo Jamie.
Yeah.
No, he called me out for that. I don't think Jamie. I know you don't like that, but you can come on and defend yourself.
Oh, he's so schizo. Don't let him fool you.
No, I mean I was referring to him kind of as more of like a calming presence, and being able to teach. Which I mean, like that's super important because, for example, I've had people come in and say, I'm gonna crush these guys, or after I did wrestling, I'm gonna try to crush these purple belts or whatever, or I'm gonna be, which is kind of like missing the point. For example, you put 15 years into jiu-jitsu and you've gotten back so much out of it, right? Like in the end, the battle is kind of against yourself in terms of what you can get out of it. It's not against other people. There's no point to crushing other people in the gym.
I'm not using jiu-jitsu in the streets.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Jiu-jitsu for life, right?
Yeah, so you come in here and whether you've had a bad day, you come in here, you feel better. You've had a good day, you come in here, you still feel better. So, and then there's days when you really don't feel like coming in, and that's when you need to come in probably the most.
No, that's when you come in the most, right? Like,
exactly.
So what are your bad days? Like, when do you, what gets you in the gym?
So I get in the gym by like kind of routine. Because I just like, if I can physically get to the gym, meaning I'm not at work, then I try to come to the gym. So if I'm sleeping, if I'm working night shift, I've set alarms to come here at 12. Just because if I don't come in, I'm gonna have the rest of the day or rest of the night's gonna be awful. if I'm working late, I put the gi in my car when I leave so I can come straight to work. I come straight to jiu-jitsu right after that.
Half of it's showing up, right?
Yeah, most of it is showing up. And then once you get in, things kind of take care of themselves mostly. There's sometimes when I'm here and I'm just dragging myself through it because I'm so tired or I'm weighed down or I'm thinking about all this other kind of
Now
stuff.
I'm like licking my lip. I go, come on, I'll go Jovan now.
Yeah.
I'll go, he looks like he's dragging. Go. So, what's your origin story?
Yeah, because you
like,
have
let's go
probably
back
one
in
of the more
time.
unique origins of us all.
Oh, the origin story. Yeah.
So you were born in Jamaica.
Yeah, I was born in Jamaica. I was born in Jamaica.
I would have thought New York.
Really? So, rural Jamaica, like farming, stuff like that.
So not Kingston.
No, not Kingston.
Yeah.
No, it's a small place called. So I was born in a small place called. I was born in Kingston actually, but then
Shout them out.
the
Shout them out,
second day of my life.
Wagwan maga.
It's actually Wagwan. That's in
okay,
Wagwan.
What's it called?
Wagwan.
Wagwan.
Wagwan. That's a greeting.
Wagwan maga.
It's a greeting. Like Wagwan my youth or Wagwan brother. It's like a greeting. Like
How
a.
do you know this? I've only been to Jamaica once on a cruise, so
Yeah.
it was like very rudimentary exposure to Jamaica.
I knew some guys in college who were from like Trinidad and Jamaica.
Yeah,
Dude, the guys from Trinidad. So, side story. There's a guy from Trinidad on the tennis team I was on, and his sister convinced UCF by writing a paper that she spoke a second language, so she didn't have to do the language requirement.
That's awesome. Also, kind of true if you know people from Trinidad. I mean, which I do.
English though, right?
He would talk to me and I would understand him. He'd have an accent.
Yeah.
But then he'd talk on his cell phone with his buddies back home. I had no idea what he was saying.
But
Yeah.
it's English, right?
It's English. It's definitely
English. Yeah.
in Trinidad. It's definitely English. In Jamaica, we have you can classify Patois, Jamaican Patois, as a second language if you're. I don't know the linguistics of it. I never studied linguistics, but it's different enough that you could say it's a second language. But it's also similar enough to English that you could say it's like a dialect of English. So it's somewhere in the middle. I'm not a linguist. I don't have the
It's
chops
just
to
enough
understand
like
it.
common words are so
Yeah.
different
Oh, yeah.
that you just don't.
Yeah.
I know like 3 and it's well, how does this work? Like when you're learning like another language,
You know the dirty
you learn the dirty stuff, right? Like so, I knew. Is it Bumbleclot?
Bumbleclot.
That's like terrible.
I really hope my mom's not listening.
Like that's like terrible, right?
Bumbleclot. No, not necessarily. It's like the F word. Like you use it when you can use it for many different reasons. Like bumbleclot. I think that was awesome.
That's like terrible.
Well,
right?
no, actually, it could be like you could do something great. Like you would pull off a flying.
That's fucking awesome.
Flying berimbolo choke, and I'll be like bumbleclot. Right? And then
we're doing that.
somebody could walk in and I don't want to see him. I'm like bumbleclot. It's like it depends. It's a very dynamic word.
So-
yeah.
There's kind of a history of why I know this, but in Hindi, something like a derogatory thing to say is ulu kabacha, and ulu kabacha is simply translated baby owl,
Really?
but that's like motherfucker.
Baby owl?
Baby ulu kabacha,
That's very interesting.
and bacha is like baby, and ulu kabacha. It's like what the hell? So that's crazy how when you look at in Spanish, a curse word is called hostia.
Yeah.
Like hostia, it's HOSTIA.
Yeah.
But you know what it is? Actually, it's actually an actual thing.
Hostia.
Hostia.
Yeah.
Hostia. And you say, like, hostia or me cago en la hostia. You can say it in a bunch of things. You can say me cago in everything, which is like I shit on.
Wait,
you can
is Ostia in Jamaica too?
No, definitely
no,
not.
but okay, but here's the funny thing. What it is when you go to mass in the church and they put the bread in your that like dry thing in your mouth.
Yeah.
That's hostia in Spanish.
Oh, really?
Is it really?
Yeah.
I did not
You mean
know
like
that.
this is the body of Christ?
Yes, exactly.
Amen.
The body of Christ is hostia.
Really?
But they use it as a curse word in Spanish.
But if
in
you-
Spain. Not in South America they wouldn't use it.
But if you think about it, people use the word, people use the name of Christ as a curse word here.
Oh, yeah.
You do, so it's not that surprising.
Jesus.
Right?
Welcome to BJJ and etymology, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so origin story,
origin
Jamal.
story of
Right.
Jovan.
Yeah, so-
out of the womb, you were punching immediately.
Not really, no, man. I spent like my teenage years watching kung fu movies and being like, oh man, I got to learn kung fu. But
like Bloodsport or like Bruce Lee?
Everything, like Bloodsport, Bruce Lee, Don the Dragon Wilson. If you remember that guy.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
No.
Michael Dudikoff.
No, American Ninja.
American
yes!
Ninja.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cheers.
So I grew up watching lots of these guys, and I was
American
like, man,
Ninja.
yeah.
This is great.
And I was like, man, I got to learn martial arts, but it was just not available. Like this was in the late '90s, early 2000s in Jamaica. Martial arts were not widely available.
What martial arts are like? Okay, so like we all sort of try to romanticize this bullshit of like Aboriginal martial arts, right? Like because Vietnam has tried this too, and it's like this garbage martial art. What's the Jamaican martial art?
There is no Jamaican martial art, man. I don't know. You swing a machete. There is no Jamaican martial art I can think of. No, it's just yeah.
You grew up in a culture of watching like kung fu flicks.
Watching kung fu movies. Yeah, very popular. Kung fu movies were on national television on a Saturday, so it was really popular.
What year were you born?
1985.
Okay, same as me.
Same as who?
Yeah. What month?
December.
You
December.
babies.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
You're
okay.
born in February.
Oh, you were born 85 as well?
85.
Oh, okay. Cool, man. All right.
I feel so old.
It's a good year. Yeah.
You millennials.
Millennials, man. Millennials are gonna save the world. But so when I went to college, I was like 17 or something, and then there was like a kung fu place down the street, and I was like,
Like an actual kung fu.
Kung Fu Academy.
Detail.
Yeah, Kung Fu Academy. Like I mean, I think the style was Charlie Foot or something like that.
Oh, Choi Lei Fut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
hard style.
I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna be Jason Bourne after I No, it was garbage. No offense. It was not very beneficial. It really was not. But fortunately, during that time, I started learning BJJ.
Really?
Whoa!
Okay.
Sandbagger.
No. But
He's
so
like, I was 3.
So here's the thing, though. So this was maybe 2005, 2006. I started intro to BJJ. It was like some guy who was teaching sort of BJJ.
What, college?
Yeah, in college.
Oh, so like what Laborio's doing right now, like an actual college course.
No. It was not. I was in college, but no, it wasn't a college course. No, it was just. It was a club. Yeah, it was a club that was outside.
So this is their intro, like fundamentals class.
And
Yeah,
wait,
exactly.
Hang on. I don't want to play the lineage game.
Yeah.
What's this guy's lineage?
I have no idea. This
What
guy.
belt was he?
This guy was like a blue belt.
Oh,
Yeah, and he wasn't.
Okay, that actually probably
a blue belt is
that
legit
seems
in,
yeah.
I mean, like depending on like availability, right?
The
Like,
region and time.
Region, yeah, and at that time there were not many blue belts around. It wasn't like now, you can find black belt teachers who are quite good. But that's when I got interested in it. But at that time I didn't really, because for one, the training wasn't that great. Because if you think about it, like imagine you was a blue belt, just like you started teaching when you were like upper level white belt, then you became a blue belt and you started your own school. I mean, you're not gonna be that great, right? You think about it.
Yeah. I think
So
You're gonna practice the shit out of those scissor sweeps, though.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, but that's like, so like from a like chronological standpoint, that's the jiu-jitsu scene in Jamaica in 2000, 2010.
2000. At that point, so after I finished college, I went back to Jamaica for med school.
Okay.
At that time, there was still no regular jiu-jitsu. There was no. I couldn't just go and practice jiu-jitsu somewhere. It just wasn't that popular.
Not available.
No, because I went back in like 2008, and there people who would kind of sort of teach it or give you, you'd have a place to roll, but it wasn't like I was going to be getting, good technical advancement at that time. Now it's much, much different because, there's a MMA league in Jamaica right now that's coming up, and they're hosting intermittent BJJ tournaments and stuff like that. So it's much different now. But like 10 years ago, it wasn't that. So when I was back, when I went back for medical school, I kind of took up boxing, and I kind of didn't grapple very consistently for maybe like 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah.
Years. Okay, so how long did you train jiu-jitsu before you took up boxing?
Before I took up boxing, maybe 1 year, 1.5 years consistently.
What is the boxing scene in Jamaica?
Say again?
What's the boxing scene in Jamaica?
Oh, it was going off, man. At that time, there were regular amateur fights. There was a show on television called The Contender that is still on.
So is it like trained people or is it like
no,
tough man competition?
Legit trained people.
Okay, all right,
people are
that's
good, and then they compete against people from other countries. People coming from Mexico, South America to compete in the Contender Series. It's still going on right now. It's very popular, and the boxers are actually very, very good.
Okay,
some of the guys I started as amateurs
so it's not like
with.
the bar fights.
No, it's definitely not. Some of the guys I trained with and sparred with in amateur boxing are now pros, and they've competed on that, and they've done quite
awesome,
well.
Man.
Yeah,
so
yeah. For
if
sure.
you had taken that route, is there a good chance you would have been a pro boxer instead?
No, because I'm terrible at boxing. I had maybe a total of 5 fights. I won
five boxing matches.
Amateur matches. Yeah, I won only 2 of them.
But like headgear.
Yeah, headgear.
Like, regulation,
12 ounce gloves, regulation. Yeah. 3 3-minute rounds. The usual. I don't remember the boxing organization that sanctioned it, but it's the same as the international standards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you switched to boxing for a little bit, stepped away from jiu-jitsu, came back. Now there's a little bit more jiu-jitsu scene.
Yeah.
Did you dive into it more?
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as it came up, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome. Let's jump right in." And there were some guys who were trying to start MMA, and they were promoting MMA fights. So they were like, "Hey, you want to fight?" I was like, "Sure."
So what is the familiarity of MMA in Jamaica at that time? Is it like, because obviously the big boom of UFC in like '93, and it becomes a sort of like fringe sport, and now it's a mainstream sport. Where, like, how many years behind in Jamaica is MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, that sort of like combat culture?
Well,
in relation to America,
so
as the baseline.
You mean right now or in 2010?
When you were in your level of development of Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, at that point, it was kind of fringe. It was like, it was kind of weird. I mean, like, why would you hit this guy when he's on the ground? Just stand up and fight like men.
Really? So there's still that like pugilism stand up. Oh, really?
No, now there isn't. Now it's gone.
Right, okay.
But in like as recently as 2010, 10 years ago, yeah, it was there. So they were like, why would you do this? But I actually had a fight in 2010. They were trying to start a. They're trying to start a.
When you say a fight, you're talking MMA.
MMA fight. Like, it was legit.
At this point, you had 5 boxing matches?
At this point, I may have had like 2 or 3 boxing matches by this point.
And
so
then
it was
what other, like, had you wrestled? Like, what other?
I hadn't wrestled. I had a year and a half of jiu-jitsu. And there was somebody who was teaching wrestling. So I was learning wrestling at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. So that fight, I got heel hooked in like 2 minutes and 27 seconds.
Was this the one that you got before like your exam in med school?
Well, I mean, I had exams very frequently in medical school, but yeah, it was around that time. So, I was studying, and then I was like, oh, let's go to the city and fight this dude, and then come back and take the exam.
God.
It was. It's kind of bizarre, but so the guy was definitely far more prepared than I was, which is why.
So do you know who he is? Like he hooked you in 2 minutes?
Yeah. So he went on to be on the Ultimate Fighter, the show.
No, did he really? Who is this guy? What's his name? Call him out right now.
I can't. I don't remember. I can't say. I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with saying his name. I don't know. But he ended up being a competitor. I don't know if he ended up doing well, but he ended up. He was on the show.
But he was on the show.
He was on the show. The Ultimate
Fighter. What season
Fighter.
he was on?
I don't know. I don't remember. Some circa 2010. I don't know. But so that was very interesting. But then I don't know if they couldn't fund that particular league or whatever. But then that kind of died down, and I did a couple more boxing matches.
Did you? So just heel hook wise, like because heel hooks are a relatively new thing in the scene of jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. Did you recognize it?
I did.
You recognize it now?
I did. Oh,
would you have? Obviously, you developed quite a bit. You're a purple belt now versus like a white belt. Like, what did you tap to pain? Did you tap to like fear? Like, tell us about that.
It wasn't Uriah Hall, was it?
No, absolutely not. Okay. Uriah Hall is a monster, man.
He's Jamaican American.
I wouldn't have.
Randy Brown.
I wouldn't have forgotten Randy Brown. Randy Brown is another monster. So I've met Randy Brown. Randy Brown is awesome. No.
No. This is so exciting.
No, trust me. I don't think it's anybody.
Keto Allen?
No.
You don't remember?
By the way, this person is not Jamaican. This person came in. Yeah.
okay.
I'm looking.
So this is like
And if I fought
an
Uriah,
international fight?
I mean, yeah. So these guys came in from overseas. So if I had fought Uriah Hall or Randy Brown, I wouldn't forget these guys' names. I mean, these guys,
Like,
these
I
guys,
lost to that guy.
These guys are legends. I would be at every UFC. I'll be there at every fight they were fighting. I say, look, I know that guy. He beat me up in 2010. You know what I mean? Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, but I've met Randy Brown. He so at the gym I was training in Kingston, he came by a couple of times a year because
So what type of gym were you training? Was it a boxing gym, a jiu-jitsu gym, an MMA gym? Like what exactly was what was the thing there?
it started off as a kung fu gym, but then they later kind of just switched to MMA completely. So it's like we'd be wrestling on these mats and there'd be swords. There'd be swords all around, and Chinese writing on the walls and all this other stuff. But the head coach is very MMA, like he's legit, So,
But he was a kung fu guy.
no, he was a kung fu guy. He was, and then he later became a full MMA guy,
okay.
or he incorporated the kung fu with MMA in as much as that's possible,
So like you had mentioned, like at one point I joined a kung fu school, right? Like, and that was like new, and it was like the thing. The transition from kung fu and sort of traditional martial arts to adopting full on basically MMA was a relatively short amount of time,
Yep.
right? Like,
Yep. But so it was made easy because the kung fu wasn't particularly useful. So actually, before I went,
Neo would be so pissed.
yeah, he was,
I know kung fu.
yeah, he'd be like, nah. So I had moved to like Boston the year after I finished college before I went back to medical school.
Oh my God,
And
Boston, of all
Yeah,
places.
and I picked up. So I went to a legit like MMA school.
Call him out, dude.
Yeah.
Give him a shout out.
Sityatang,
Really?
Boston. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What's his name?
You know everybody. How
The guy. I don't know him. I know who he is.
Mark Delagrati?
Yeah, Delagrati.
Yeah.
The guy who trained Kenny Florian.
Yeah.
Really?
He knows me. So
You trained a Oh wow.
Kenny
Okay.
Florian has armbarred me on more than one occasion.
Whoa! Name dropping.
Or actually,
Jovan Solo.
Actually,
name dropper.
you know what's funny is I saw a guy. So I'm going to leave this guy nameless because I don't want to call him out. But he's not someone that's affiliated with the gym.
Yeah.
But he's someone I've met through my travels. And I guess he has a gym. And I saw that, and I've seen this before. It's like they advertise who they've rolled with. And when I actually thought about it, it's like, I know a lot of people that could probably claim that they've rolled with a lot of people. But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily good at jiu-jitsu. It just means that they're on the mat.
It means that you're on the mat at the same time, right?
Or you could take a lot of seminars too. Like imagine if you just took a bunch of seminars. Like, I'm no Buchecha, Gordon Ryan. Like I've been on the mats with all these guys where you paid for a fucking.
And that's a traditional martial arts thing, right? Like that. I mean, not to go super like fucking like inside baseball with like the JKD community. Like there's like JKD where you're like I'm collecting certificates of like who I've trained with and like what techniques I've learned. And there's JKD of like I'm fucking fighting, right? So like. That's a clear difference and like sort of like branch between the two at this point. So you've got an armbar by Kenny Florian?
Yeah, or
Did it feel good?
wait, did that like, or he was teaching? So he was basically in the gym all the time because he was preparing for his
at
fights.
that point, yeah.
And he would, so if he needed a training partner, or if he needed somebody to roll with or whatever, and there were other guys who were in there as well. I mean, I don't want to keep name dropping.
Oh, so probably.
yeah.
Do it. Do
What's
it.
his name? The guy.
The Irish hand grenade?
Yeah, Marcus Davis.
Marcus Davis?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
He's from Bangor, Maine. He's an hour away from where I grew up. And
Marcus
who's the other guy?
Davis, yeah.
You sparred with him?
Yeah, I did, man. Jorge Rivera. I sparred Jorge Rivera.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
yeah.
this is
What
awesome.
about who's the guy with the ears that come out? That finishes.
Lozon?
Yeah, Joe Lozon.
No, so Joe Lozon was in Bridgewater.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I never actually.
I'm sorry, I'm
met-
not hip with the scene. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, he was at Bridgewater.
So, but
They're
this,
the anti-gym.
no. This is very specific to like 2008 Boston. But so Joe Lozon, like his name was around, and then I'd be going to MMA fights in the region as well, and Joe Lozon and Dan Lozon would be
to
there.
watch or to
watch,
fight?
to watch, and guys from my gym would be competing as well, so I'd be there supporting.
Why didn't you compete?
So because I was pretty new at this point, so I was pretty new, and
You've had 5 fights, dude.
No. So you got the timeline wrong. This is in 2008. This is before I went back. And
okay,
had
yeah.
Oh, before you went back. Okay.
Before I went back. So yeah, no.
So your first. So to get the timeline right, you first started with Kung Fu
Yep.
in Jamaica.
Yep.
Then they converted Or did you go to
No,
Boston?
no. So
then you went to Boston.
And I went to Boston. And then
when you came back, they'd converted more to MMA style.
No. So the Kung Fu was not in Jamaica. This is where it gets very confusing. I did college in the U.S. in Connecticut.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Connecticut.
In Connecticut. Yeah.
Shout out to Michelle Sanchez, who is out in
In
Connecticut right now.
Sanchez.
Yeah. So that's where I did college. And during that time, I picked up Kung Fu. That was not useful at that. That was the Kung Fu that was not useful.
How long did you
And that was in Connecticut.
before you made the branch?
4 years. 4 years, because that's how
You
long.
did 4 years of Kung Fu?
That's how long college is, right?
Wow.
So 4
Yeah,
years.
that's true. Okay.
Yeah. So 4 years of Kung Fu.
Where the hell this dog come from?
Victor. So yeah, 4 years of Kung Fu. And then I went and did the year of like Muay Thai,
all right.
kind of MMA intro, kind of Jiu-Jitsu intro, right? But so a lot of the sparring with these guys was near the end of the year when I was getting decent, So, and then after I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be awesome if I keep doing this, I had to go back to Jamaica, which was, kind of a bummer for me at the time because then I couldn't kind of continue this high level martial arts training. And that's when then I picked up the boxing. And then later,
Because that's
the MMA
basically
fight.
what was available.
That's what was available.
Okay,
Exactly.
all right, gotcha.
Exactly.
So
Which, I mean, like, it's a good tool to add to your toolbox.
So then at that
Exactly.
point, what happened? Because there's an MMA fight that comes in here.
Yeah, so that's when. So the MMA fight happens in maybe in like third year of medical school, where I'm just
You're
like,
in medical school doing MMA fights?
yeah, bro.
Come on, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was it. So I'd be studying, we'd have exams, and be like, well, there's this fight that you can do, and then in Montego Bay, I was like, sure, why not? Let's go do it.
This is an amateur MMA fight.
No, this was a pro MMA fight, which I did not
You don't
know.
get paid.
Which I did not know at the time.
Yeah, boy.
I did not know at the time.
So you took a fight. Do you have a pro card? Like, what is the sanctioning? But like, what is the?
I have
process
no
for it?
idea, but if you look it up on Sure Dog, it's there. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Doing it right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
That's so awesome. Okay, go on.
So it's kind of ridiculous. So
It's super ridiculous.
Yeah,
by the way.
it's just generally terrible. But then that caused some problems for me later when I was,
Jovan Gayle. Sure, dog.
when I was trying to get amateur fights later, it caused a major problem because I know I'm having this pro thing and I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of ridiculous. I can't get amateur fights. This is not cool.
Yeah, because you've sort
Because
of.
I'm a pro, but then at the same time,
sucks, dude.
yeah, at the same time, I've been in the ring for 2 minutes and 27 seconds or whatever, and got heel hooked. So clearly, I'm not very dangerous. I mean, just going off the fight information.
Found it.
Okay, so I got you on topology, and he's got
I've
you.
got you on Sure Dog here.
Ryan Williams.
Doug Sparks.
Doug Sparks, yeah, that's
Oh, that
it.
was the amateur.
That was the pro. Doug Sparks was a pro.
fight.
Yeah.
That's why it's on.
Yeah.
And this guy is 7-2, and his last fight was on Tough Enough. I'll be damned.
Tough enough. What the hell is that?
No, excuse me. I said Tough Enough. It's tough. The Ultimate Fighter.
There you
Let's see
go.
where Doug Sparks is right now. He's Team Hoedown, which sounds so Midwestern, and in fact,
But it
he's
seems
from
like
Indiana.
he's retired. It seems like he's retired.
7-2.
Nickname Ant in the Pants.
Ants in the pants. That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Dude, I remember this guy. Actually, this is his face. Look. I think I've seen.
I stopped Ultimate Fighter at a certain amount of time. So what? This was a hobby for you. Did you ever think like, man, like I'm really good at this. Let's pursue this as a career. Were
Like,
you,
fuck medical
passionate
school.
about it?
Like,
No, I didn't because if you think of like being in medical school, you kind of have to dedicate all of your time to it just to like survive.
so hang on. I want to compare this to Mike because we just talked to Mike and he did an MMA fight. How often were you training going into your MMA fight? How many times a week?
Close to every day.
Okay.
Yeah, close to every
Mike
day.
was training twice a week.
Oh, okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten to the episode yet, so spoilers.
Yeah, okay. That's not. something
But
that-
it's
yeah.
dropped by now. When people listen to this episode, the mic will have already
We're
dropped.
reversing in time, but
Okay, so then
so you're
Like-
an all or nothing guy. Like I'm gonna pursue this or I'm not gonna pursue this.
Yeah,
If not,
exactly.
it's a hobby.
So now
Yeah.
trace us from there to ultimately landing here in Orlando and training at ATT Orlando.
All right. So from there, this fight was probably in like 2010, right? So I did a couple boxing
Jesus
matches.
Christ, man.
I did a couple boxing matches, right? And then I graduated medical school, started working, right? At that time, kickboxing was now boxing was still very popular, but I wasn't really doing boxing anymore just because of I'm not sure entirely why. Probably busy. But then they had kickboxing matches. They were like, oh, let's do a kickboxing match.
Had you ever trained kickboxing or Muay Thai?
Yeah. So after
Kung Fu
leaving,
wins.
after those boxing matches, the Kung Fu school in Jamaica kind of went full MMA. So I joined up at that point, and I was training pretty regularly. So when this, and then with all the time I graduated medical school, started working. And I remember they had a fight. I was like, what's the date for the fight? And they told me the date, and I was like, man, I'm on call the night before.
Oh my God.
This is awesome.
So I was on. At this time I was working at the pediatric hospital. I was on call the night before. I did the call. I think I slept like 2 or 3 hours or something like that.
Oh, so you did get called in.
Yeah, no. So at that point, I was an intern. So at that point, I was there. I was at the hospital for 24 hours. So I was there the whole time. But they had beds, and you could sleep for 2 or 3 hours. So I slept for 2 or 3 hours. Went after.
This
call,
is rare.
This is like a better Grey's Anatomy.
This
like
is awesome.
and then I went to the fight. So I had slept for like 2 or 3 hours. Probably was dehydrated. I don't know. Drank a bunch of water. Went to the fight. Won the fight. Went back home.
Myth.
Went back home. Went to sleep, and then went to work the next day. If I was on like a Wednesday or something like that.
How'd you win?
No, it was so he stopped. He quit in the second round.
So that's a
TKO.
TKO.
Yeah, I caught him with like a head kick, and then he
And
stopped.
this is a kickboxing match.
Kickbox. It was
Okay,
it was
alright.
it was a Sancho fight, so we're allowed to do takedowns.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
So there's Sanshao in Jamaica?
Yes. So the Kung Fu school. So you remember? I'm sure you know the association between Kung Fu and Sanshao or Sanda.
Yeah.
So
Sanda.
yeah. So that when the Kung Fu school was converted to MMA, like Sanda was one of their kind of middle steps.
Like that's their
sparring.
the
Yeah.
functional
So when they spar,
part of-
exactly. So they kind of organized the tournament, and they had people from all over Jamaica coming. So I fought this guy, won, and then went back to work the following day.
So just out of curiosity, because I think of Jamaica as like not a hotbed for martial arts, as you sort of like alluded to, like. Where are it's a kung fu school, he's a Choi Lei Fut or whatever the hell it is.
I think so. I think there's some confusion here. So the kung fu school I trained at
Is
that
in
I said was
Connecticut.
not very useful. That was in Connecticut.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
in Connecticut.
I
Choi Lei Fut.
apologize
That's
to
in
Choi Lei
Connecticut.
Fut guy.
Yeah. That's a different
Okay,
place.
alright. So
In
Jamaica
in
is
Jamaica.
the
Yeah. So
kung fu
there's
school.
a kung fu school, but by the time I trained there, they were kind of doing more MMA.
Okay, so like where is like the guy who was like, for example, a white belt who was teaching you jiu-jitsu and was a blue belt?
He was in Connecticut. That was when I was in college.
Oh my
college.
gosh. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
totally mixed up.
Yeah. So the timeline is kind of messy.
What so like where is the like sort of like internal development of like MMA in Jamaica? And how much of it is like outside influence and like sort of like I don't want to play the lineage game, but like how much of it is like
Randy
scientific
Brown.
process we've like determined what works based upon these parameters versus how much of it is like outside influence?
That's an interesting question. I think a lot of it is going to be outside influence just because, in Jamaica, we kind of culturally import a lot from North America, US and Canada.
Okay.
Because we watch a lot of television, cable, Netflix, all that stuff. And, UFC is going to be on TV. And, people see it working. And then you have guys like Uriah Hall, who he was born in Jamaica, but then he immigrated. Randy Brown, similar story. So
Jovan Gayle,
You're
also
right.
similar story.
Right.
Purple
So-
belt.
So, that's kind of when the influence builds. And then people who are in martial arts, traditional martial arts, like Taekwondo is semi-popular in Jamaica. Kung Fu is semi-popular in Jamaica. And then they start to see, the success of MMA, then they kind of want to compete as well. So it kind of, all of that kind of just fosters the growth of MMA in Jamaica.
So how did you get into ATT Orlando?
All right. So I finished medical school in Jamaica, and I feels like I need
So
to.
the myth of Jovan grows in Jamaica. He's on, he's on call, gets 2 hours of sleep, wins a fight, goes to sleep
then
a
goes
little
to
more,
work.
and then goes to work again.
So it's actually, and the second fight I did, this was actually an amateur fight, which was after the pro, which is just bizarre.
You did an amateur fight after being
the
pro?
It was bizarre. So
Like,
I told the promoter, I was like, dude, I had this one fight with this guy. It was 2 minutes, 27 seconds. I haven't fought since. I can't be fighting pros because, whatever. Or do you have any amateurs who are willing to accept this fight? He was like, yeah, sure. So at this time I was working again. And if I was on a weekend in Trinidad. So So my whole goal was to because I had to come back to work on Monday. I left on Friday. I had to come back on Monday. So my whole goal was don't get my face busted up because I have to come back to work. So I went to Trinidad, armbared the guy, not a scratch on my face, and then came back.
Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu.
I went to work. So by that time, I was training Jiu-Jitsu pretty regularly. Now, the Jiu-Jitsu I was training was at that same Kung Fu come MMA place in Jamaica.
And where's he getting his knowledge base from?
That's a good question. I will ask him next time I see him.
Was he a blue belt?
Not disparaging.
Was he this guy that you said that was a blue belt?
No. Two different guys. So look. So the guys in Jamaica who's training, I love that guy's. That guy's awesome, right? So he taught me a lot. In fact, he's probably responsible for almost all of my mixed martial arts development in Jamaica at that time. So I don't know. Honestly, I should ask him where he got his knowledge from. I know that the person.
The YouTube era is.
Possible.
What belt was he when he was training you?
So he wasn't a gi. He was all no gi. So there was no belt.
Oh.
So when I came here,
had you ever worn a gi?
I probably once or twice.
Okay, so you're primarily doing no gi.
No gi, yeah, primarily no gi guy. So when I came here, I was all of my experience was no gi. The gi was very shocking to me. I'm like, why can't I wiggle out of this? This is not fair. He has a handle, So yeah, so that's kind of where that started with and what that went into. So while I was doing all that, I was also taking the exams to come here and do residency, right? So did those exams, passed the exams, came here, right, to start residency
At UCF, right?
Yeah, UCF.
Or no, whatever.
Yeah, UCF. UCF sponsored it. They sent us
Medical City, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Send us to all kinds of places, right? So,
and this was what 3 years ago.
2017.
2017. Okay. So 2 years. Yeah,
3
years. Yeah, 3 years. Jesus, 2020.
Yeah. So basically, all I did was I got here. I'm like, well, I got to train because you can't come somewhere and not train. So I Google images, my home address, and then I search nearby and see all these places. Tried with a couple.
So you tried a couple?
Yeah, I tried a couple.
I love this part. All right.
Name.
I don't want to talk any smack or disparage anybody. But I went somewhere and they'd be like, I don't like this kind of training. It's not very.
It's not for you.
It's not for me. There you go.
Okay,
so then I came here and I was like, oh, it's lit. This is nice, awesome. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna train. And then
who did you first roll with?
Here, it's a good question. I remember Akib, because Akib was a blue belt at the time. I don't know if Akib was the first person I rolled with, but yeah, he was a blue belt at the time. And so I rolled with Akib. I rolled with, I can't remember. Actually.
This was in a gi.
This was in a gi.
So you had a fresh white belt.
All this these grips I didn't understand. People were doing all kinds of crazy things to me. I was like, what is this? I can't wiggle out of this. I can't limp arm out of this and then, go behind and do all this other wrestling stuff.
So going actually from no gi to gi, do you enjoy? I mean, you train a lot of gi.
Yeah, I train. So I train more gi than no gi just because that's how.
Or just because it's what's available.
Well, I think because it was what's available. I did it more, but now gi is awesome. No gi is also awesome. So,
yeah, right. Okay, yeah. There's no moral component. You just what do you enjoy, right?
Yeah, you just do whatever is available. You just do it. Yeah, for sure.
And so, I have to go back to this now. You're the first person, and just speaking in terms of motivation, purely motivation. You're the first person to ever say, "Hold up, give me 10 to 20 minutes to warm up," which is it's your thing. I get it, right? To go hit the bags before the podcast.
Yeah, and
obviously you have a lot of goals in mind. You're very regimented. Mm-hmm. You seem to be the least likely person that has any issues with motivation. Man, what do you hope to achieve from martial arts?
So that's a very good question, right? So, man, so it's it goes back to watching Don Wilson and Michael Dudikoff, David Bradley, all those old guys, right?
Hang on, David Bradley. What is this? That's American Samurai, isn't it?
I can't remember. No, American Samurai is Tom Cruise, isn't it? No, wait, no. Sorry, that's The Last Samurai.
That's The Last Samurai.
No, David Bradley. I don't remember what the name of his movies, but he was in. Yeah,
he was in the later American Ninja.
He was later American Ninja.
After Michael Dudikoff.
Exactly.
We are such nerds.
Yeah. But these guys are all unbeatable. They walk into a bar surrounded by enemies casually and just kick everybody's ass. So they never have to worry about anything, right? So in that kind of situation, I'm like, I want to learn martial arts so I'll be protected or be able to protect myself from everything, right? Or I won't have to worry about people kicking my ass because then I'll be very capable in martial arts, right? So when I first got the chance, this is when I was 17 in Connecticut starting Kung Fu. I was like, I'm going to be fully dedicated to this, and that's what's going to motivate me. The problem came, and then,
What bar did you walk into?
No, and I did not walk into. No, I'm a very non-confrontational guy. I have never been in a street fight in my life. Just on general principle, fights are not good. You either win, and then the other guy you get hurt. You either win and get hurt, or you win and don't get hurt, and the other guy comes back and tries to kill you. It's terrible.
There's no good that comes from street fighting.
Exactly. It's a bad idea. Avoid it at all costs. People have said horrible things to me, and I've walked away just because I can't be bothered with that kind of risk. I don't need that in my life. But then later you have more recent guys like Jason Bourne. You're like, oh, I want to be like Jason Bourne, but it takes a long time to realize that Jason Bourne is not real.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
no, but you think about it, you're like, I'm gonna be a badass and I'm gonna be, invincible. But then no one is invincible. And you think that's something you would understand when you become an adult, but you don't. And I think a lot of people kind of carry vestiges of that. Like, you wanna be the very best. But I mean, like, who is? Like, GSP is probably the most GSP in his prime.
Yeah, I agree.
He's still a human, and if I wanted to take out GSP, I would just whack him on the head with a bottle when he's not looking. You know what I'm saying? There's no, that's not a good goal. That's not a way to judge yourself by anymore. So then,
like, can I beat this guy up?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're
evolved past exactly that, right?
Like culturally,
precisely. And, yeah. But then this was my motivation for a very, very long time. Like, I got to be the baddest I can be. I got to be unstoppable. Like, if anyone messes with me, I want to be able to take them down. But I didn't actually realize how silly that was until I was like in my mid to late 20s, and I was like, damn. So if that's not why I'm training martial arts, then what am I training martial arts for? Like, what is if it's about self-defense first and foremost, but then you realize that it's not. Martial arts, are actually probably not that good for self-defense. Meaning, it's much better than nothing. But what you want to do is not be in a position where you have to fight somebody in the first place.
What does Henner say? 99% of all fights are 100% avoidable.
Is that true?
That's what Henner speaks.
So I don't know if all fights are avoidable, and I would if I have to get into a fight, I would really appreciate knowing
truly
martial arts.
At that point, right?
But yeah, it's really a problem. But if you're in that situation where you have to fight, then it's already very, very desperate, and you want to avoid that. And then think about it, like, if you're going to be fighting, if you get jumped by 4 guys, how much martial arts do you need to know to be able to beat up 4 guys?
The best track athlete in the world.
Exactly.
To be, yeah.
I mean, if the 3 of us in here jump GSP right now, I don't like his chances at all. I mean, right?
I'll let you go first, Jovan.
But that's what I'm saying.
I'll crouch behind him.
Yeah, Jovan, you go first.
Yeah. So, but there's limits, and then if you think about them, when you realize that these limits are rather obvious, and that if you spend all your time trying to be a badass, and you're not going into a cage to fight and demonstrate it in an arena where you can actually use it and it will be beneficial to you, then what are you really training for, right?
What are you really training for?
Exactly,
then,
and then that's when the motivation comes in. But there's many other things. So, like, I've been in medicine for a long time, right? And it's kind of the same thing.
Have you? So, from, like, just out of curiosity, right into college, have you always been like, I want to be a doctor?
Yeah, I've always.
You have? Okay.
I haven't entertained any other. I haven't entertained any other careers really. Maybe.
At what point did you know you wanted to be a doctor?
I was like 10, man.
Man, you're one of those kids. What do you
want
to be when I grow up?
Yeah,
a doctor.
And no,
no marine biologist.
No, no marine biologist. No astronaut.
Or an architect.
Really?
No soldier. None of that stuff. Yeah. At this point,
Jovan, congratulations.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Well served. About time. See you guys.
Yeah.
John.
Take it easy, brother.
Yeah. And at this point, I'm kind of like looking at myself. I'm like, I should have thought about other areas to go into, maybe engineering, etc. But I'm good. Yeah. But it is what it is, and I like this career. But going back to what I was saying, there's a lot of similarities between martial arts and life, like, especially in medicine. In fact, it's very, very similar to medicine, because at least studying medicine, there's things that you learn, and if you don't use them, then you forget them. You have to learn them again. So that's the first thing. Like, I'll come in here and I'll learn berimbolo, and I'll be like, oh, I can do this, and then I don't do it in 6 months, and I'm like, what? And then I come back 6 months later, I'm like, what the hell is a berimbolo?
You're face planting.
Exactly, and
right?
it's
like made today.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. You will learn about some rare condition medicine, and you'll forget about. Then you totally forget that you learned about this before, and it takes constant effort to keep kind of practicing, learning, re-updating. So, jiu-jitsu for me kind of puts me in that frame of mind where I'm able to just learn something, forget it, and then learn it again without becoming frustrated.
So something that just struck me as interesting is you said specifically jiu-jitsu. Have you any more aspirations to do kickboxing fights, MMA fights, or are you like all in on jiu-jitsu right now?
I mean, that's a good question because, one, we're all getting older. Like Noah mentioned, we're born in 1985.
I know that. I mean, I'm 82 here.
So, MMA fighting is kind of a young man's game, sort of. And plus, with the current schedules, I probably don't have the time to train to have a 6-week fight camp and then cut weight.
Though.
I mean, I would. I totally would get back in there and fight again.
Would you really?
I would. But then, if you think about it, it's
You're
scary.
a doctor. Don't CTE, bro.
Yeah, so that's the other thing as well. Oh man, that's another can of worms. So CTE is one of those things where I'm not a neurologist, but the evidence for it is it's like one of those things where you can kind of there's a parallel between CTE developing and other things like for example PTSD. So PTSD is one of those things that wasn't known about at the time of the Vietnam War, even World War II, or even World War I. But if you go back and look at the writings of people who fought in World War I or II, those guys had PTSD by current standards.
They call it shell shock.
They call it shell shock, right?
Oh, exactly. I know what you're thinking of. You're thinking of the whole Carlin thing. Yeah, the whole Carlin thing.
Yeah. So this is evolving and it's coming up, and it's kind of the same with CTE. And people say things like, MMA, you take less.
It's safer than boxing.
because you take less blows to the head and the fight stop. And I'm like, dude, there is no evidence to support any of this. And just thinking about it from a physiological standpoint, there is no reason why I would think that MMA fighters would be any more exempt from CTE than boxers. But then again, I'm not a neurologist. Furthermore, there was this other study that was published saying that soccer players have a higher risk of dementia, of early dementia,
because of
heading the ball all the time, and all they're doing is heading a ball. And I play soccer.
I don't play soccer. How hard is it when you're heading a ball versus taking like a right cross?
Oh, it's not hard. Man, taking a right cross is infinitely worse. Okay. I mean, you will attack the ball and try to head it. Like that's how nobody attacks a right cross and like I'm gonna head it. You will attack the ball. You will want to put your head
it like optimal like spinal alignment and that sort of
all that stuff. So you're
and it's still bad for you.
And it apparently. So again, but this is low quality evidence. Low quality evidence. Low quality
call
evidence.
them out. Go ahead.
Yeah. So So the study wasn't like definitive from what I've superficially looked at. I didn't look at it in great detail. But the point that I'm making is that you can't then go ahead and say that MMA is less likely to cause CTE than boxing because you have no evidence. You have a theory, which I mean everybody
you have
has
a narrative,
theories.
but you
have
don't
a narrative. Exactly, you have a story, but you don't have any evidence. You don't even have any good physiological reason to say so.
What's the worst injury you've suffered while training?
While training, I've been very lucky. The worst injury I've suffered, I rolled my ankle once.
Oh wow!
That's the worst.
Oh my god!
I've been very lucky.
Okay, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. I've been very lucky. I haven't had many bad injuries.
So how much of that is just your success in grappling? Mm-hmm. How much of that is also when to tap? How much of that is like you let your ego go and like that sort of thing? Like, I mean, these are very like sort of rhetorical questions, but
a lot of it is knowing when to tap. Like I don't take any chances. Somebody puts me in a heel hook or I tap out. There's no point in because the heel hook is one of those things where you don't want to take like you tear a ACL, PCL, or LCL, whatever in your leg. You tear anything in your knee, you have trouble walking and driving your stick shift for the next 6 weeks. You don't need that kind of risk. You can just tap and start over.
So it's funny. I was listening if you listen to the latest Keenan. Like the mapper with Lachlan. Keenan actually talks about he used to fight out of heel hooks, and he feels like he had this one get out of jail free card where he was in a deep heel hook and he twisted and he felt his entire kneecap shift and then snap back into place. And at that point he was like, okay. And he's like, there's no ligament damage. He was fine. But at that point, he said, "Okay, I can't do this anymore." Like he
So
felt
he was
vulnerable.
attribute-based,
He felt
right?
he felt vulnerable at that point. It would be like Nikki. Like Nikki to me is our
he
Keenan
gets out of
Cornelius.
stuff.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
He's
like-
super flexible. He's Gumby. I had his knee pointed in a way that made no sense. I had him like in a 50-50, and he was trying to come up on me, and I just kept pulling his heel closer to my head while his knee was going closer to his hip. And I was like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I was like, "Are you sure? Like, this looks painful."
So as a training partner, I would have just let go.
I would have let go as well.
Right? Like, I mean, like,
I would have let go as well.
I ask
man,
one
yeah.
time if they say yes, and I still feel as though like this is potential for injury. I let go.
I let go. It's not worth it to me. I don't
not
want
worth it to me. It's
I
not
don't want to
worth
be
it.
the reason why somebody else gets
right?
injured.
A minor of all people.
Yeah, I don't want to be. Yeah, today. So I was going with Andrew today, and we were in 50-50. I had an inside heel hook, and he had an outside heel hook. And I
That's
was
not 50-50.
No, it was 50-50. So it was. So it's hard to
Wait a minute.
Do we need to actually get into this position right
No,
now?
it's easy to. No, trust me. It's easy. So we started in 50-50. He and his heel pops
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
inside.
yeah.
Boom.
His is obvious,
So
right?
I'm protecting my inside heel.
Yeah.
So my outside heel is exposed.
That's not a heel hook though, because your knee's not secured.
So his knee, my knee is not secure, but
Yeah,
his
he
is.
doesn't
Yeah,
have a heel.
his
He's
is.
just wrenching
So
on an
he's-
ankle.
Yeah. But he does have my ankle in a heel hook position, and I'm just like, let's pause for a minute and study this position. Twist, let me see how far you can go slowly. And I was like, yeah, that's uncomfortable. Look what I got. And he was like, oh yeah, yours is different and much more dangerous, right?
So I think
Oh,
that's mindful
scientific
training.
method here.
So, that's what I'm saying, because I'm curious about can he finish this, but I don't want to crank, and I don't want him cranking me to make my adrenaline, to make me have an adrenaline spike, and then I twist him, and then
Right. And then
terrible
you
stuff.
both are injured. and that'd be
Exactly.
terrible,
So
right?
exactly. So I mean, heel hooks
Or comedic.
yeah. So any of that stuff, any dangerous stuff, man, it's I just leave it alone, because at the end of the day, we got to walk out here and then go back to work, man. You know,
I'm glad that
Yeah.
you're mature enough to understand.
none of that stuff I play with. I don't even. Yeah, I don't take any chances, especially with leg locks. Like my New Year's thing, New Year, new me. I'm kidding, but my New Year's resolution is kind of like understand leg locks a little bit more. But I'm not going to be cranking any.
So would you be interested in a intro to leg locks class?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I might have to do this.
All right.
I might have to do.
I would take that. I mean, I'm the first to tap when it comes to a leg.
Yeah, but I tap very early. Like if I allow myself one escape. Like if I can't stop what you're doing and clear the knee line, then I'm tapping. That's it. So if you're twisting and I can't stop you from twisting, I'm tapping. If I've stopped you from twisting but I can't clear my knee line, I'm tapping. Because at some point, like, you have my legs still and I can't clear my knee.
Yeah.
You're trying to twist and then something happens and then you get my hand up, but then now you twist and then now I'm in trouble.
Yeah, then
So,
So it's interesting because I've thought about this, and I'm by no means an expert, but I feel like the guys that are good at leg locks, professionally, one of two things happens: either they don't really fuck around with late escapes, like
Well, you should never fuck
like
around
pointing,
with
like
escapes,
like
right? Like
like
that's-
pointing the toes and slipping, like finding creative ways to slip the heel. Once if they have a bite on your heel, actually figuring out a way to slip it.
Yeah,
Because I think we generally agree, like, and if I were to, like, this class were to come forward, the big thing, my goal would be to, like, get everyone safe so that they know when they're in trouble and when to tap, and that way anybody could go and potentially heel hook them, and they would protect themselves because they know what the danger zone is. But there are guys that you'll get the heel and they won't, and they'll try to slip it somehow. But the point is, they either tap early, like a Lachlan. Like, I don't think Lachlan messes around.
Well, he's a physical therapist.
Yeah, he's a
and
physical
understands
therapist.
the
Or you
consequences.
Gordon Ryan it and you tear your ACL.
But he didn't do it. He didn't tear his ACL having that happen to him, right? Like
I thought it was a heel.
I think he.
The guy
when
fell
he
on
got-
him or something?
Yeah, well, he was trying to sweep that gigantic guy, right? Like, and he fucked up his MCL.
Oh,
Isn't that what it was? And then actually Lachlan did an entire, like, this is why.
I don't like this knee angle because it puts too much
like,
pressure on the knee.
So he's like, I prefer this, right? Like, and it's so like a Z guard, right? Like, and if we're talking about the same thing,
I guess my point is, like, I encounter a lot of grapplers that have fucked up their knee because they play the game. So it's like they either play the game and they really fuck themselves up, or they play the game and they're super. There's no middle ground. It's like they're either they all in and there's like, I'm just going to attribute out, or
So isn't that the beauty of jiu-jitsu, right? Like, or the ideal of jiu-jitsu rather, is like exactly what you had talked about, Jovan. You said the recognition is there. You're like, you have control of my hip via your knees being above my knee line, or you don't.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like
exactly.
That's the gist of it.
Exactly.
Because
yeah.
I'm good. You want to attack the joint, so you control the joint above it, right? Like
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're gonna hate this, Noah. Matt Thornton states, right? Like there's early, there's late, and there's very late in terms of escapes, right? Like,
Yeah.
So one of the beauties of jiu-jitsu is, I think it's a sort of like sensitivity that you develop over just mat time is when you're in danger and when you're not in danger. And I think the problem comes and where injuries happen is where people get a little bit too confident in that recognition, and they sit there and they go, oh, you know what? I can get out of this.
Yeah.
Like, because and as an instructor now, I've been asked this a lot. How do I get out of this submission? Like, that's you shouldn't be in that submission in the first place, right? Like,
I agree, but I think so. I'm right now. If anyone goes with me, I'm all about super late armbar escapes.
But that's
Like, I'm all about super.
Why though? Why?
Why? Because I'm working on it. I think it's awesome. Like,
Because so here's the thing. Somebody made this analogy.
and
He's
you
like-
armbar me. And I was thinking about how you figured out to armbar me, and I realized my back was on the ground. Like,
So yeah, but so no, that's like somebody made this. Somebody made this this analogy. He was like, okay, so I'm going to throw a right cross at you, right? You're going to wait until it gets to your nose before you think about slipping it. It doesn't make any sense. If I could start on anybody, if I'd be like, okay, what's your starting position? I'd be like, okay, let me start on your back. Let me get my my grip in deep, and then you can now escape this rear naked choke after I have it both hooks in. There's no point, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's cool with the limits. I think
Yeah.
I think it's relatively safe to mess around with, and it's also. It gets me very sensitive too. I know, like, there's basic, and if you really want to fuck around, you go back and forth, and if someone catches
don't do that.
if someone catches you, then you're done. But I also trust my training partners. I won't do that with certain training partners.
that's true.
that-
Yeah.
And I'll give them like
That's true as
if
well.
someone like Jovan caught me and I was like, oh, I'm done, and I tapped immediately. Now I was going back and forth with my hand, trying to wiggle out or something, and then he caught. I tapped immediately. Now. If I didn't trust Jovan as a training partner, number one, I probably wouldn't F around as much with going back and
that's
forth.
True. Yeah, that's
And, but regardless, I will give him the credit for the tap and not put him in that awkward predicament of, all right, my arm's fully extended and locked, and now what do you do?
Yeah, like what do you do?
know?
Exactly. What do you do?
I just let go.
Yeah, exactly. So
Because
that's the
you know
thing.
what? Let's continue the roll. Like,
Yeah.
I have to work on my follow-ups to a failed armbar at that point.
Yeah.
Is my opinion.
Exactly. And there's,
But the training partner has to give the submitter credit for the submission and give them reinforcement, like you did a good job.
Yeah.
You're asking a lot of like mind melding.
But he's kind of right though. For example,
Otherwise, I'm thinking, did I really have the armbar? And that's why, for me, when I'm doing late armbar escapes, I worry that people might release early thinking, oh, Noah's being a dick.
Yeah.
And he's not doing it. I'm actually, like, totally fine. I've got my arm at an angle where there's no pressure on my joint,
Yeah.
Especially in the gi, because you can't see the arm. So it looks kind of weird when I do it. Like, I've seen people do it. I'm like, people must be thinking I'm fucking crazy right now,
Because I've had it happen before where I kind of tried to power out of somebody's armbar and they let go, and I was like, bro, I'm sorry, you're right, I should have tapped to that, because there's no point in me trying to you obviously have at least more than an 80-90% chance of finishing the armbar if you wanted to, and I already messed up by letting you get to the position, and you already did a great job by getting me in that position, so I shouldn't have been trying to power out of it, you know?
Like,
yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
That's my opinion about
Yeah.
things. I mean, like, I'm not a
Breaking
competitor
pressure.
So okay,
Make
so
them tap.
I've noticed most guests we've had on our show so far, I think, have put quite a bit of thought into their training, are very mindful of things, like literally what we're discussing right now.
We need to have Eric on.
What do you... Have you always been this way, first off? Or was there a point at which you were like, if I sort of like ego roll all the time, it's to my detriment?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it wasn't a single point. It was more gradual. It was somewhere between, like, somewhere after getting to the point where I'm like, I mean, you can't really be a badass. Like, the badass doesn't exist. You have to kind of find some other reason to to keep rolling, and you derive all these other benefits from
Because
martial arts.
quite frankly, like Jovan, just based on your attributes alone and your skill level, even like non-purple belt Jovan, you could probably hang with most, if not all, intermediate and high level competitors. I mean, like, so like you had to make the conscious decision, like, I'm going to scale it back and become I not to put a moral component to it, but a better student, right? Like, was that because you're like, if I continue down this path, like, it'll just lead to more injury or whatever the case is, or you're like, I just love jiu-jitsu. This is what I want to do.
It's a combination of both, and like I'm in it for the long game. Like if I'm gonna be coming in here and just trying to blast everybody, or if I'm just gonna be trying to just dominate, then one, I'm not gonna be learning, and two, there's gonna be somebody who I won't be able to dominate, and then at that point, I would wish I spent the last few years learning as opposed to just trying to dominate.
How do you budget your intensity when it comes to rolling?
It depends. I usually just go based off what the other person is doing, which is
that's like escalation. It's like I push a little harder, you push a little harder, I push a little harder.
That's exactly what happens. So me and Mike go all the time. We always have that problem. And
we said let's flow roll. It's flow for 10 seconds,
and then invariably we get up against the wall trying to take each other down. It always goes like that. But we've been getting better and trying to kind of like scale down the intensity, because you can doing that kind of high intensity, just kind of just all out rolling. It's good. You learn, you kind of improve your skills. But if you slow down and think about the technique, then you really get good at technique. And whereas so technique is difficult to learn and to master. Going full energy and determination is kind of more natural. So spend more time on the stuff that's difficult to master.
So when
less time on the other stuff.
Right now, when you get on the mats for the sparring section of class, when we're saying, okay, go roll, and we're not doing situational sparring, how do you approach that? Are you kind of open-minded? Do you have goals in mind? Do you want to funnel to positions? Like, what's your approach when it comes to those roles?
Very open-minded. One of the things that I've adopted is that I start from sitting on my butt, or start on my back, because my natural position from like wrestling is to kind of get on top and try to pressure. So now I'm on the bottom. I'm either trying to sweep or submit from the bottom, which is kind of when I started, it was a very unnatural position for me. Now I'm more used to it. So that's what I do. And then
you don't do that with me.
So that's because I try.
You don't do that with me.
I do try, but then you like to butt scoot, so you kind of pull back, and then no, I have to go on top because I
feel like I've tried to stand up and you just stand up with me, so I'm like, I don't want to be in this midget wrestling position with you. So I'm like,
I mean, no, because I always try to. I pretty much always start out on my butt just to kind of, because I feel like I need to master these.
All right, I'll just shove you down and try to pass.
Yeah. I'm all about.
I'll take top position on the bigger guy any day.
And the other thing is that with people who are smaller than me, I almost never try to get on top, because there's such a huge weight advantage. I'm not going to learn much by just laying on somebody. I mean, so you have to make the role not just interesting, but beneficial to your learning. I'm not going to learn very much by doing the same thing I've always done. I got to get into other positions where then I can try things out and do different things, and possibly fight out of some difficult positions.
So when's your next fight?
I have.
What about grappling tournaments?
Yeah, why don't you? Yeah,
the only reason I have is because grappling tournaments usually, I've done some before, but usually how they're set up is that you spend 8 hours waiting to fight for 5 minutes, which I don't have time for.
And you spend $100 for that.
And you spend $100. So it's the input and the input reward. The investment reward ratio is way too low for me.
That's a good way to put it. Investment reward.
Yeah. So but if
the ROI is not there.
The
return on investment
is not there. Exactly. But if there's a good tournament that people are going to be competing, I'll be like, yeah, of course I'm down. I'm always in. I like competing.
Ooh, so there you go, John.
There's John.
There you go, John. Make it happen. We're gonna get Jovan in the IBJJF competition. So what belt were you when you competed in grappling?
Oh,
I assume white, right?
No-gi. Yeah, it was no-gi.
Oh, no-gi. Okay,
it was no-gi. Yeah. I think I armbarred the first guy and then lost the second one on points or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And
gi. When's the gi competition gonna happen? Because you're entering as a purple belt now, bro.
Oh,
you can't go backwards.
Jeez. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be intense.
Well, you're I don't know how the hell the age brackets work. Your masters.
That was the other thing as well. I'm like, why is there an age bracket? Like, between, as far as I'm concerned, anything above like 18 is an adult, and that's really all you need. Like, what is the rest of the stuff about?
But where's the cutoff, though? I mean, like, because there's definitely a difference between a 3 times a week. You know, you're a professional. I mean, like, well, you're in the how many?
Well,
days
that has nothing to do with age, though. You can't.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely, it does.
Not
Because,
really.
No, it doesn't. Age has nothing to do with
general-
someone's training schedule.
Exactly.
They can opt to have a recreational training schedule.
people are
Josh
different
Hinger, or whatever his name is.
That's his full-time job.
Yeah, but he. But my point is, so I don't agree with that rationale.
You don't.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't believe in masters' world.
So maybe
I'm not
masters.
saying that.
So
I'm not
masters
saying-
make sense for like people who are maybe, I don't know, over 50. But it's the case. There is a case to be made for age brackets, but I don't think 20 to 30, 30 to 40. 20 to 40 is basically
It's not even 30 to 40. It's like
age.
30 to 35,
Yeah.
35 to 40,
Those are
40
all the
to
same
45.
age.
these micro.
No, it doesn't make sense. Also, the real world is not like that.
Yeah, I always found that weird.
It's
like,
so-
I'm the
it's so
I'm the
strange.
champ of this tiny
Yeah.
little swimming pool
Exactly.
instead of like
So-
going
and
in.
I mean, that's a cash grab.
And that's why
Exactly.
I like and that's why I think everyone likes ADCC, because it's like your weight class.
Exactly. Oh, that's I'm saying your weight
You're
class,
on.
things that matter. You can.
So we're the nearest ADCC trials.
I think. I don't know. Jovan, when do you want to compete in ADCC trials?
Hey, why not? I'd try it. Why not?
Go against the Rotolo brothers. Let's go.
a 16-year-old.
Yeah,
do purple belt also.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be crazy. But
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, but I mean, I don't mind. I'll do it. Why not? But that's the thing. I mean, as long as I'm gonna go in and learn something, because I don't want to. It's like one of those old. So when I was doing kung fu in Connecticut, which is the one I said wasn't very good, was
It
that
just wasn't for you.
wasn't for me. My bad. Wasn't for me. So they used to have these tournaments, and I'd be competing against like 3 guys in the division.
What's the rule set here?
It was like the point sparring. You can't hit to the face. And I remember one guy like acrobatically leapt into the air when he was suspect, and then he tapped me on my helmet, and he got like 2 points. I was like, "This is
Hang on, I've
That
never heard
reminds
of
me.
this
That
before.
reminds you of like.
this is craziness."
remember
this is
old
ridiculous.
school, and they had like the competition. It feels like something that would happen in that competition, where it's like
That's what
there's a
happened.
gymnastics portion. There's a
Exactly.
In that case, it was like an Olympic thing.
Yeah. So there was the forms. You had to do your flowery form techniques.
Oh, your flowery form.
And so they give us this big trophy, and I've been like, "Bro, I did nothing except show up and pay $50 to get this trophy."
Well, okay, Chris, what's the definition of a kata? Because you've used that. And
So
what,
kata is a Japanese karate term, which is it's a form.
it's a form. Okay,
It's a
so
form,
it's the same
yeah.
thing. That's what
It's
I
a
thought.
form like taekwondo. It's called the pumse, which is it's kata.
It's a kata, right?
Karate.
Where did
or kung
uke?
fu,
Where
rather.
did uke come from?
Uke is the demonstration partner
Yeah, the
for somebody demonstrating technique in judo.
In judo.
In judo, yes.
Okay.
And Aikido. Yeah.
And I mean, like it's
Any
Japanese martial arts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just you're the training dummy.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I use that a lot just because I'm like one
What would
stripe
say?
white belt.
I
in
usually
judo.
say training dummy, but it's not that. It's the demo.
The demo part.
Yeah.
That's the uke. So you competed in kung fu. All right.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I was in kung fu tournaments,
The layers
man.
just getting stripped away.
And then maybe I've been too harsh, because I did learn a lot. I mean, I did become flexible, so I could kick high, I guess, from kung fu. So it was good. It just wasn't. It didn't meet my goals of getting useful fighting techniques. But there were lots of
But
experience.
so
in there.
like that's the thing too, right? Like we talk about it now, and actually we're sort of like talking in circles a little bit. We say, like, if we were really training for self-defense, like probably parkour is the best.
it's the best
form of
way.
self-defense,
Yeah,
right?
you are right. Yeah, you caught me there. Yeah, you're right.
Parkour is literally the best form for
You are
self-defense.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And,
Yeah.
and people talk about like, and
But-
what drives me nuts about like a lot of like sort of like RSBD guys, which is reality-based self-defense. Folks like you're fat, like you're like this big fat guy, right?
Yeah.
And this is to your point, Noah. Like, what are you more likely to die of, like a street confrontation or like type 2 diabetes?
That's a good point. That's a very good
Right. So like,
That's a very good point.
so like what?
My whole thing with that is I don't look at this as a martial art so much as I look at it as a sport. And I
that's a
appreciate
good-
the
yeah.
martial art tradition of it. I appreciate lining up. I appreciate the belts. I appreciate the pecking order, and that I think is good. I think they're good. I think it's a good value system to impart on people, especially young people. in a way, almost that religion is. You know, I think like I'm not. Oh boy, I'm probably going to alienate a bunch of people now. But
go ahead and say it.
But
So
I'm
go
not
ahead,
a
do
religious
it.
person, and I have a lot of probably negative views of organized religion in many respects. But Chris like, all right, I'm out. I'm out of this conversation. You can go all Jesse Ventura and alienate everybody. So, but I appreciate its teachings to young people because it teaches morals in a way that I think are good. Maybe I might not necessarily agree with the mechanism, but the end goal I think is good. You know,
So the end is just. I mean, like I wouldn't be the person who I am if I didn't take 14 years of Catholic indoctrination. Ooh. Right? Like I mean, like it's just a fact, right? Like,
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, we're a product of our environment and that sort of thing, and that's the environment I was raised. But like to me, that's like saying, like people use religion as like a justification for like the arts and stuff, right? Like because they're like, oh, like look at this great piece of art that was commissioned by the church for blah blah blah. Like it's not great because of the religion money backing behind it. It's great because the artist did it, right?
Correct.
Like, so like to me, the same thing applies. Like my wife, for example, is the most non-religious person ever, but she's a better person than I will ever be, and she's non-religious, not raised in the Catholic Church, right? Like. I'm only good because early on I was indoctrinated with the fear of God that I would go to hell. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I need to be good, right? Like it's sort of like the whole Christmas Santa thing. Like I need to be good so I can get presents. But
or you need to be on the mat, or the mat enforcer will come and
or that, right? Yeah. So, but like jiu-jitsu, like it doesn't need all the ceremonial stuff.
Okay, so
to be a good martial arts.
So I think as I said before, I think. What it imparts through martial art tradition, I think, is good, and I appreciate it. But I do view it as a sport, and when I look at a sport, I expect athletes to be the one performing it. So anytime I see someone, regardless of age, with a body type that doesn't look athletic to me, I get a furrowed brow.
Roy Nelson, true.
I mean, he's also the 2%, right? Like he's on the far end of the
I
bell
mean,
curve.
that's like saying you don't need to lift weights because Marcelo Garcia doesn't lift weights.
Agreed, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you can always find except, but we're not talking about 40% of the population of sports people. We're talking about, like Cecil Fielder, the baseball. Although baseball, baseball players will hate me for this.
I don't know shit about that.
Well, but my point is like there'll always be
there'll
always be a chubby person
Cricket's
there.
crazy, by the way.
Cricket is awesome. But yeah.
Oh my god, like 400 runs? What the hell?
Yeah,
But
that's great.
the funny thing,
It's like 4 days of competition.
5 days.
did I send you this? I don't know if I sent you this video, but there was a video. So, as you and I know, I don't know about you, Jovan, how much you follow the jiu-jitsu community, but Keenan Cornelius opened his school. He opened a new school in San Diego called Legion. Mm-hmm. And he's calling it Legion AJJ for American Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, God.
Instead of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because
You cringed at that.
So
We'll have to
he's
go back
very,
to that.
so he wants to, he's kind of eliminated a lot of traditional stuff, like stuff that a lot of people like as American consumers. Like there's no gi requirement.
As American consumers who are indoctrinated in the idea of traditional martial arts through the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that fair? I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's a good description.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I saw a clip of him doing a promotion, and it was hilarious. Did I send this to you? It was a story,
I've
so
seen
it's
it.
gone. So he's calling up, so I'm going to recognize so-and-so, and he puts a stripe on. So he puts a stripe on, good work. And then he's like, good job, bro. And he sticks out his hand and gives like the white man handshake and pats him on the back, and he goes, yeah, that was it. It's like no bowing, no like any, like congratulations in the bow and stuff. It was just like, congrats, bro. He sticks out his hand. And I was sitting there, I was like, did that take some of the significance and meaning of it? Because it's a nice moment when people get a stripe and we have a little more ceremony. Is it pompous circumstance,
right?
or is it actually a nice gesture? Is sports actually doing it wrong to downplay people's little micro achievements, their little milestones that they hit? We talk about the hard ass, whether it's a football coach or a soccer coach, or the hard ass coach. It's like, tough love, and the guy might be the athlete might be doing better, but the coach doesn't really recognize it. So that's kind of the thing. From a who do I expect to be doing the martial art in jiu-jitsu's case? I expect athletes to do it. I don't expect people, and that's not true. You look at people on the mat, we have all body types on the mat and all athletic backgrounds. But at the same time, it's not a competition team that's strictly an academy. You know what I mean? Like, I understand there are people that doing it for different things. You can do a sport and not be an athlete. But the model to me should be the athlete.
The model should be the. Yes. Ooh, interesting. So Jovan, though, like, because you're like.
But he, of course, looks like an athlete.
No, I mean, you are an athlete, right? Like, so you are an athlete, and you've mentioned a couple times you sort of identify as a martial artist, right? I identify more as a martial artist. The athletic weightlifting to me is an accessory to improving my martial arts.
Do you lift weights?
I haven't in a long time. I do. What am I saying? I was in the gym bench pressing yesterday. Yeah,
yes, you do.
Okay. I do. Yeah.
Okay, so like. At this point, obviously, we're past the point of like doing martial arts purely for self-preservation, right? Like, right. It's yep. You said it yourself. I'm not out there trying to fight people on the streets and whatever the case is. Do you? At this point, is it just a vehicle for more? Like, is it your religion? I can honestly say at this point, it's basically my religion. Like, I spend the time here to make myself a better person. Right?
So I prefer the word just because I don't want to use the word religion, but it's part of my daily ritual. I know. I'm doing the whole semantics thing. I get it.
Yes, I would like to avoid alienating as many people as possible. I use neutral language, so I wouldn't say it is, because religion means lots of different things to lots of different people. But yeah, it is part of my daily ritual, and it's part of kind of maintaining yourself, kind of like how you become a better person. Kind of you stay in shape, which is great for like general health, and 2, you put yourself in a frame of mind where you come here and you learn things that you don't already know. And so to learn something, you have to kind of admit that's something that there's things that you don't know, which kind of sounds trivial, but really how often do you put yourself in that frame of mind throughout the day, especially if you're if you're the boss at work or something, for example. So you have to come in, humble yourself, and learn something, which kind of just rejuvenates your whole approach to life. So it kind of re-energizes you. So that's the first thing. I got to come in here and I got to learn things. Secondly is that it gives me a long-term project, something to pursue. So previously I thought belts weren't important. There was this quote that, belt only covers 1% of your ass. It's up to you to cover the rest, or something like that. And I was like, oh, this is great. No, we don't need no stinking belts. But then if you move it out of the frame where the only goal is to become a badass, then it becomes more important. And the belt is not just about your skills, it's about the kind of how much work you put in and the memories you have and what it took to get that belt and the people you've trained with, etc. Right? So training martial arts, when you're coming in and doing jiu-jitsu, always kind of opens my mind. There's things that I think about and contemplate that I wouldn't have contemplated if I wasn't doing martial arts. And at the same time, when I hit a wall in studying or something else, I can use the same jiu-jitsu techniques. Like, for example, the trust the process that you guys talk about. It's the same like when I'm reading a book and falling asleep and I'm like, I can't do this. And we're like, you got to trust the process. You stay here for long enough, you'll magically absorb some of the information.
I thought he was going to say, I just have to go inverted and start reading the book. It makes more sense.
But I honeyhole this book.
Yeah, but it works. And it really coming in and just doing jiu-jitsu martial arts, and it applies to other sports as well. But it just allows you it allows you to learn things, and it gives you a different vehicle to kind of express yourself and to continue to grow as a human being, which is really
I think there's something interesting about grappling is that it's so physically strenuous and that you can really suffer at the hands of someone else and be helpless, that humbling component, in addition to how physically demanding it is. I mean, there are other things. I mean, a marathon runner, that's physically demanding. I'm not labeling this as the only thing above anything else, but it's certainly the fact that it's humbling, the fact that it's so physically strenuous, and I think also chemically it probably just relaxes because it releases all the good, the good stuff.
Oxytocin, right? Like just with physical contact, right? Isn't that's a big part of it? This is all Sam Harris stuff.
I don't know. I don't know about the oxytocin release from physical contact. I haven't read anything that's proven or disproven that. But, they say naturally you get endorphins released just from doing physical activity. And for me, personally, my brain is usually going at work. I'm thinking about multiple things and the only time one of the few times I get to calm down is after I've worked out, and I can lay on the mat and be like, I just rolled for half an hour or whatever, and then I can just zone out. That's why sometimes Paul is like line up, and then I'm still on the mat like just looking up because
Are you like absorbing, like, are you replaying in your head what you just did, or what are you?
There is nothing in my head at all.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's
like meditation. So
clear.
Yeah. So actually, we did this. They were trying to. They had this person come and try to teach us to meditate at work, and I couldn't do it because it's just not. I can't meditate like this. And I was like, I was at that point I was thinking, if I go to jiu-jitsu and roll and then maybe hit the bag and then roll, I will be in exactly that mind state you describe. I cannot get into that mindset by sitting and trying to clear my mind because my mind doesn't work like that. But if I come to jiu-jitsu and I roll hard, I end up in that mind state just because that's what jiu-jitsu does for me. You know.
Do you feel so? I've tried like all of this mindful bullshit. I mean, it's not bullshit, but I agree with you, right? Like,
again,
but like,
we don't alienate anybody,
yeah, exactly,
right?
right? Like, so I tried like the float tank.
Oh, the sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
You Joe Rogan follower.
No. This is actually shout out to Derek Huderberg, brown belt under Dylan. You know, he owned the float center. I tried it and stuff, and maybe a big part of it is like the idea of like hypnotism. It doesn't work unless you like want it to on you, right? Like I don't know whether that's the case or not, but this is from what I've read. Like jiu-jitsu's that's my mindful. Like I'm truly living in the moment because all I need to worry about is what's happening right there because I will die otherwise. Right? Like
Right.
Or have some sort of like catastrophic injury. Do you feel as though like because that's the process by which I achieve that sort of like moment of mindfulness, similar to you?
Right.
Can the other methods of like teaching meditation and mindfulness, can that be taught, or do you think the person just has to be open to it and it won't work otherwise unless they trust in the process? Were you not trusting in the process?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. But so I've struggled with I generally my attention span is very, very soft, and even sitting and keeping still is very, very difficult for me. So
as you and I are literally both twitching
right? Yeah. So it's very, very difficult for me.
And you look quite red now. You've hit your Asian red stage.
alcohol dehydrogenase, baby. Totally lack it.
He sent me the Wikipedia post for it, and it should have been a picture of your face. It was like, that Asian guy looks a lot like Chris. It's like, Jesus, he's all flushed now.
So I don't put anything in my body unless I research why it does what it does first, and like it's something of my mindset.
Yeah, that makes sense. I will eat absolutely anything, but that's I'm crazy.
Tell me about ackee and saltfish.
Ackee and saltfish is delicious, man. So ackee is a fruit.
But there's like a crazy caveat, right?
Yeah, so it's a fruit, but so there's this poison in it called hypoglycin, right? They call it that because it tanks your blood sugar, and if you eat it, you will come in with this very low blood sugar that will be very difficult to get back to normal.
If it's not ripe.
It's not ripe.
Okay.
It's not ripe. So there's multiple. So if you let the fruit ripen and open on its own, then you're safe. I do this all the time. Pick the ackee myself, and then take out the core and other stuff and give it to someone else to cook because I actually can't cook this. But that's no problem. The problem comes in when you take the pot down and force it open, and then you try to cook it.
How many fucking people had to die before they figured this out?
Ackee poisoning is very, very rare. We eat ackee in Jamaica all the time. Like it's the national dish. Like it's breakfast.
Is it really? Ackee
yeah,
is
it's one of the national. I mean, it is one of the national dishes. There are several national dishes, but it's one of the national dishes, right? Ackee and saltfish. So, and it's very, very rare that somebody will actually get poisoning from ackee.
At some point, though, there had to be some unintended scientific method.
So think about
somebody fucking died, and they're like, "What the hell?"
No, I mean, I don't know if anyone died from this, although it certainly is possible. But think about it like this: how often you get food poisoning from whatever?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've had 3 times in my life.
Yeah, precisely. You get food poisoning. So it's like this. I've been eating ackee all my life. I've never gotten sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's not. It's kind of overblown.
So,
but
okay. Have the mechanisms by which that works, the unripened ackee or ackee, has that been studied to be able to implement with
Like diabetes
Yeah,
treatment. That's a good question.
Am I?
That's a
Did
good
I just
question.
come to some crazy revelation?
You might be onto something. Actually, I'll go look that up right after this.
Dude, that's crazy. Right?
That is crazy.
Because if it drops
I have
blood
not
sugar,
thought-
why shouldn't everybody?
I shouldn't use it to treat diabetes, right?
So I've been taking Are you familiar with berberine?
Sorry, say again.
Berberine.
I've never heard of
It's a chemical component of a couple different flowers and actually the same plant that they get turmeric out of.
Okay.
Where it's been shown to be as clinically as effective as metformin in type 2 diabetics.
Oh wow!
Right, so I don't need to be
okay.
taking it because I'm not like I don't have type 2 diabetes,
This
but
is
I do take it anyway just because I'm like, I want my extra piece of cake.
This is very interesting. Yeah.
So like, if that's been studied, right? Like, how is something that has been proven to drop blood sugar levels not been like?
So
Like-
part of the reason is so.
Not enough Chris Booze around. That's why
Well, that's always true. We could always use more Chris Foods, but
he said it.
but part of it is that I have to go think about this for a bit more because I've actually honestly never thought of that. I have never thought about why we haven't tried to harness this to treat diabetes. I'm sure someone else
There has
has.
to be
has to
multiple
be-
scholarly articles.
There's probably multiple
that
scholarly
refute
articles,
this or
about this.
something.
Because definitely. But I just haven't thought about it, which is I'm kind of disappointed in myself.
This unripened Aki.
We're in Jamaica. It's growing everywhere. it's growing everywhere. It's all over the place, man. Yeah.
Your fiance trains jiu-jitsu too, right?
Wife.
Your wife? Oh, congratulations! Oh my god, I'm such a shit.
Actually made this mistake too.
When did you get married?
Like in June.
In June? Okay,
Yeah,
congratulations,
So,
man.
yeah,
That's
thanks.
awesome.
She's trained for the 2 months she was here. That's the only thing. I'm trying to get her back into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her back into it. I still have her. We still have her gi.
Does she? So like, you know,
What does she do,
Yeah, what does
like-
she do athletically? Because I mean, like
Rugby. She played
really
for Jamaica.
Oh, so she probably picked this up like super
Yeah,
quick.
super. Right. She played rugby for Jamaica.
Really?
Yeah. So she's very, very athletic from like first
She's
principles.
tougher than basically anybody on the mat here.
Well, pretty much. Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah.
Did she enjoy jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, she did. But she was studying all that time, so she didn't really have the chance to train as much
That
as
I feel
was.
like is perennially what you guys do in your downtime, if you call it that. You've got a book open, you're studying for some massive exam.
That's what usually happens. Unfortunately, that's how it is. And then because you have to keep up with the constant stream of new information, like for example, like CTE, just one example. Like the information is
It's a
evolving.
relatively new topic.
It's a relatively new topic, and
New
the information is
research
evolving. And like for example, think about the vaping associated lung injury.
The vape culture.
That just came out. Like it just, it's just like, and then now you have to kind of catch up on this because people are out here vaping, and sometimes they're gonna get sick. And it's not like so vaping. The catastrophic lung injury from vaping is pretty rare, as in my understanding of it is currently. But I'm not a pulmonologist. Disclaimer.
new, right?
And it's very new, so not many people know about it. But then you have to think, like, if this person vapes and he comes in with garden variety pneumonia, then how does that change things? So now you have to know about it. So you have to keep reading. It's kind of a lifestyle at this point.
Do you have any hobbies?
Other than jiu-jitsu?
Well, I mean, you said jiu-jitsu, but just martial arts.
Martial arts. And I play soccer a couple of times a week.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, I play soccer.
Does that, how much? Okay, so my buddy Glenn, or brown belt, over at ATT Black Box, have a hypothesis about the association between people who do very well at kicking-oriented sports and people who played soccer.
That is very interesting. I think the kicking in kickboxing and the kicking in soccer are totally different.
Really?
Yeah,
I remember Joe Rogan talking about like Jose Aldo was playing soccer in the favelas, and that's why
I
it's
think
such a
it makes
good.
you a better kicker, man.
I don't
aim
think-
for that little head. That's
I
big.
don't think so. One, the soccer ball is so if you're going to kick a soccer ball, it's almost always below your waist height. Secondly, how you're going to kick a ball is so different. The ball is so light. Like if you're going to kick the ball, you don't have to be prepared for the recoil. You kick a person and your non-kicking foot is in a bad position, then you're in trouble. It's so different. I don't see how you can make that comparison. It's like saying you do a running sport, then you're automatically good at other running sports. But almost all sports involve some kind of running.
Specific of you. So you play soccer a couple times a week, in addition to
maybe
what
once
you do
a
here?
week. Usually once a week.
Is this like a pickup game somewhere?
Yeah, like 5-on-5. Yeah. So
nice.
sometimes
Do you
I'll
smash them too?
Nah, I'm not that good at soccer actually. And I'm not, just to come back to your point about kicking, like my left foot in soccer, man, I can't really kick very well with my left foot, but in kickboxing, I have no problems kicking with my left foot. Yeah, it's so different. I don't see how anyone could draw a kind of comparison in kicking sports.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you soccer? You bench press yesterday.
Yeah.
You did jiu-jitsu and hit the bag here.
Yep.
How much did you bench press?
No, like 225. I don't go crazy. Yeah, I don't. I'm not.
So were
yeah.
you at some point ego lifting and now you're like, fuck that, I need to operate tomorrow? Did you scale it back and like, I just want to carry the groceries? Or
No,
what are your-
no, not really. So the only reason I stopped lifting, because I used to like squat like 300, 400 pounds, and then deadlift 280 or whatever. The only reason I stopped it was because I was training martial arts at the time, and then lifting that heavy weight doesn't do the most for your explosive power. Ooh. At least in my experience. It might work different for other people. But for example, being able to bench press and then getting huge is not very useful if you're not also working on your fast twitch movement and getting faster with your right crosses and whatnot. So, at that point I was like, man.
Sounds like a kettlebell workout is required.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Explosive.
Plyometrics, explosive workout. That's where
Or
it's at.
cleans, which I never do.
Yeah, I used to clean and press a lot. That's
How much does your lower back hate you now for that though?
it did, and that's kind of why I kind of slowed down as well. So
there's a risk
yeah,
and reward, right?
exactly. So really, the bench press and the pull ups, I minimize my workouts now to like just things that will kind of keep me safe, help me stay safe from injury, and also maintain strength.
And is soccer sort of your like steady state component to your cardio?
Cross training.
Yeah, because I used to play soccer a lot. I was on the JV team in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was running around. It was fun.
Renaissance man
Yeah,
here.
I was doing all kinds of things, man. It was good stuff.
What do you nerd out on, Jovan?
What? Sorry?
What do you nerd out on? We all have something we nerd out on.
Anime, bro. Anime.
Anime? Are you really?
Yeah, bro.
What anime? What do we got?
So, like number one, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, hands down the best series ever that has come out.
Never. That's the dude with the big arm, right?
And big arm. He has a metal arm.
A big
small
metal-
dude with the
okay,
metal
sorry.
arm. Yeah, Full Metal Alchemist.
Mind you, I'm
Sounds like Hellboy.
I'm like white boy.
It sounds like-
or I'm like white belt in anime.
Yeah, there's multiple others I've seen.
Oh, you're like you like manga.
No. Anime. I there are very specific anime that I like. So if there's magic involved, I'm out.
Oh, then you probably wouldn't like Full Metal Alchemist, because alchemy basically is magic.
I mean,
it's a magic
it's
system.
not science.
It's
right?
not science, right?
But I'm cool with chi for some reason, right? Like
With who? Chi?
I love chi. Have you? Please tell me you've seen. I know everybody's seen this, right?
Yeah.
The Street Fighter 2 animated movie.
Of course.
I
I love that movie.
Okay,
The movie's amazing.
so good, right? Like,
Yeah.
Did you know the
Excellent.
quote fight choreographer for that was Andy Hoog, former K1?
Oh, I didn't know. Andy, who was the car?
Andy
oh,
Hoog,
that's awesome, bro.
coordinated that. That's why it's like super,
So,
like really well.
That fight,
Wait,
the
are
fight
we
between
talking about an animated movie or the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
no, the animated
Street
movie.
Fighter 2 animated movie.
Like so,
Oh.
that fight between Ryu and Fei Long, that is probably one of the best fights I've ever seen in any kind of anime. That's an amazing
That's
fight.
awesome. I mean,
It's a great
so
fight.
An
Yeah.
animated movie, they use an actual K1 champion to be the fight coordinator.
Wait, did you say Kung Lee? Not Kung Lee.
No, Andy Hu.
Oh,
Andy Hoog?
Hu,
Yeah, Andy Hoog he was the fight coordinator for an anime, which is like that shows you the craft of
Yeah,
like
they were really committed to making it like realistic.
like real. I mean, with fireballs.
Yeah, with fireballs. I mean, as real as you can get with fireballs.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right. What do you have you? Please tell me you've also seen. Okay, there are two things. There's Grappler Baki, the Ultimate Fighter, and then there's Baki the Grappler, the series.
So I've seen both of them. I don't like either of them.
No,
I think
you're dead to me.
I think they're.
Why don't you like them?
I think they're terrible. I think the pacing is awful in both of them. I think the techniques they use are not realistic at all. There's this other fighting anime called Tenjo Tenge, which is probably a little bit better than Grappler Baki, but still not that great.
What's it called?
Tenjo Tenge.
Send me a link to that.
Yeah, I'll send. I'll
Is it martial arts based?
It's martial
or
arts
is it like
based.
fucking
It's
magic
no,
based.
It's martial arts based.
Okay,
definitely.
cool. Rock on.
There's this new one called that's on Netflix.
Kenshin Asuga.
Yes.
Oh, so awesome.
That's
right?
a great one. Now that's how you make a martial arts
that's
anime.
very
That's a great
Baki,
martial arts
though,
anime.
right? I mean-
it's not though, but that's the thing. So Baki is so different. I don't know if it's the pacing. I don't know if it's how ludicrous their
It's
techniques
super
are.
racist. First off.
Baki or Kenshin?
No, like Baki. I was like, man, like I don't know if this is like a part of like Japanese culture or what. But I'm like, man, like the way they characterize basically anybody but Japanese people. I'm
Yeah.
like, they are so like tribalist.
Maybe, and I've noticed that in other anime as well. But
I mean, it's
But
part of it.
I don't know if
get
I have the cultural knowledge to understand what's what's going into these characters. I just kind of try to assume the best and
look
just
at
leave
Street
it.
Fighter. That's like terrible. Like
Yeah,
it's the most stereotyping thing ever.
Yeah, I try to leave it. I try to just assume the best and say, hey, these guys trying to make it. They're trying to include other people. It's fine because there's a Jamaican dude in Street Fighter, DJ.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so
Actually, he's a stand-up kickboxer.
yeah, exactly. So I see this dude.
But there's no stand-up. Like,
yeah, there's no martial arts. You're right.
like,
But
where do they come up with this?
But I say it, I'm like happy because there's a Jamaican in Street Fighter. Of course,
That's
I'm
awesome.
happy.
Like,
Yeah, it's
I
wonderful.
appreciate that
Yeah.
you appreciate
exactly.
Like, just
I love
the
that.
fact that there's exposure, right? But
Yeah,
despite
exactly.
it being a terrible caricature.
Yeah.
But so anime, huh? What else? What else you? So how much anime in your day? You want to turn your brain off? How much anime are you watching?
Well, it depends. I don't necessarily watch anime every day, but if there's a great series that comes out, then I'm in. Like Attack on Titan, that's new. It came out like a couple years ago. But I would, if for example, season 4 started next week, I'll be watching it the day it came out. If I can find a good anime that I like, I'll burn through it in the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah.
you binge watch like
I
anime.
binge watch anime. If it's good, I'll burn through it. No questions.
So this is probably a clear like leap from kung fu movies as a kid.
Yeah,
to,
to
like, this is what it
exactly.
is today.
Yeah. Because all of my favorite animes involve some kind of fighting. It's unusual. Like you need to have a story, but you got to have some combat in there. Otherwise, what are you doing, man? You know?
So can I invite you to go eat at Super Saiyan?
What's that?
Are you kidding me?
I don't know. Yeah, hell, bro, I'm in. Yo, let's do that.
Super Saiyan.
We got Super Saiyan.
Super Saiyan.
Super Saiyan. Oh,
So
okay.
it's a ramen restaurant that's Dragon Ball Z themed.
What?
Do you not know this?
I did not know this, bro.
Oh my god, we need to do a field trip.
Let's do this, bro, for sure.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
before
yeah.
before you take off.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Like when is that, by the way?
That's in like June.
Okay,
yeah.
we need to
So
do
we
a
have
Saturday.
6 more months.
6 more months.
A
Yeah.
Saturday post jiu-jitsu beer and
Super
anime
Saiyan
ramen.
Oh
day.
my god, I didn't know about this, bro. That's awesome.
Where is it located?
It's actually down. I can walk there if I wanted to from work. It's like down towards Millennium and Universal Studios.
Okay.
So
I drive.
I drive like tourist area. There's one that's closer.
Is it near Dave and Buster's?
No. It's. I'm very bad with cardinal directions. It's like across the street from Universal Studios.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So there's another one, and I'm like an originalist guy, right? Like, so like anything that's like a copy of something, I'm like, fuck them. But there's one by UCF called Naruto.
Naruto?
Yeah, so it's like
I mean,
Naruto.
I've watched pretty much all of Naruto.
It's a ramen shop. That's
I'm in
that's
with that, man. I'm in
Naruto
with that.
based.
Hey, I like.
So maybe that's closer. So
Yeah.
we should do that one.
Yeah, is weebu a derogatory term? I kind of couldn't get my head around it. Weebu, that's like a word for
What?
Weebu or weeaboo for somebody who is non-Japanese but very invested in Japanese cultures. For example, if you
I
would
call
see-
them Japophiles.
I'm going to Google right now.
If you would see a dude walking down the street in a Naruto headband, you'll think that guy's such a weeaboo, such a weeaboo.
Okay,
Or-
I call them to me it's just a Japophile.
I mean, I don't want to disparage anybody, but I'm saying that's the kind of.
Is it like
clientele,
one of those
but-
things that's like I not to use this disparagingly either, but like the term like queer. Like at some point it was like derogatory, but then like they adopted it. Is
I
that
have
what weeaboo
no,
is?
I have no idea. I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah, I don't.
Are you that then? I mean, like, are you walking around with a Naruto headband?
So
Oh, I'm sorry. There are 2 terms. Is it otaku or weebo?
No, otaku is
otaku is a Japanese word, which is
Like, that's
which
like
is-
Weebo is a try-hard version of otaku.
There you
okay.
go.
Otaku is like the real fanboy,
Yeah.
right? And then like weeaboo is like the poser fanboy.
No, I think a weeaboo is just somebody who is just too enthusiastic about, like, he thinks real life is Naruto. Like, for example, so walking around with a Naruto headband, you're obvious, and it's like you're drawing.
You're doing it for attention.
Yeah, you're doing too much. Whereas, for example, if I'm just walking around with a shirt that has, for example, just has a leaf on it, and it's the same leaf from the Hidden Leaf Village, that's far more subtle.
What the fuck are you talking
They're
about?
claiming they claim here. Urban Dictionary claims that a weebo, commonly misspelled, as I misspelled it, is an overly obsessive fan of Japanese culture and are giving otaku is a bad name.
Oh,
okay.
It's like infighting.
Wow,
within
infighting.
the nerd culture.
It's terrible. So I wouldn't be wearing a Naruto headband, but I would definitely wear a shirt that has some kind of nod to
Okay,
Naruto.
so that's the thing, though, right? Like, and I think we're all guilty of this, and
We are. I would agree.
There's this certain amount of like elitism.
Yeah, like you're not. I'm a real fan. You're not a real fan.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you're
a
too hard.
poser. You're trying
Like,
to. Yeah,
At the same time,
yeah,
like, because
exactly.
it's funny. You were actually tap out is probably the best example of this when it comes to MMA.
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
like, why is there this distinction between like, at some point, people who were like in on it originally with MMA,
Yep.
and then like the
And then-
fan who comes in later on and wears like a tap out shirt,
Yeah, it's
like people would give them shit. I'm like, well,
It's terrible. It's what I'm saying.
if you look at it,
it's like the hipster thing.
they're supporting the sport.
Yeah, you
so
have to
you
like-
should be
yeah.
like, that's awesome.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with tap out. I mean, I'm wearing a tap out shirt now.
Or the affliction shirts. Remember
Affliction,
the
yeah.
guys who wear the.
But they're supporting a brand that's supporting the athletes.
Exactly.
So that's
it
awesome.
should. It's fine. Yeah.
And mind you, this is
Posers.
37-year-old Chris saying this, not like 27-year-old
Yeah.
Chris saying this. So
Yeah, I mean, but it's cool. Like, and I have no problem with what somebody else might call a weeaboo. Like, if you want to be all into anime, of course, 100%.
as
bro,
long
'cause-
as you're not out hurting people.
Yeah, I'm in it for you. Like I would. That's the reason I asked is that if it's gonna be those people, then I'm super down because those people have fun. They don't care. They just go in there.
Dude,
Yeah.
this is. I walk in there. I'm like, I'm a fairly nerdy
Yeah.
person,
But I don't care, man. I'll fucking chow down without. Especially if they're gonna be like referencing particular characters. That's the best.
if they don't know Baki, they're dead to me. So they.
I know Baki don't like him. Don't like the show.
Oh my god! But he. Okay, so like the thing I love about Baki,
because
right?
he's a grappler.
No, but actually, I mean, they call him a grappler, but he actually doesn't
does,
grapple.
yeah,
right?
he
does
does,
like
yeah,
Kyokushin karate, basically. But like, I love how they take these sort of like, quasi supernatural metaphysical things, like the idea of like endorphin rush, right? And
They make it into this
make it
huge
into
thing.
the- yeah, and he's like, like you need to eat protein. I need to eat bear meat.
Yeah.
Like I think that's like awesome. Like I'm like, all right, these are things that I can kind of do
that's
and
true.
relate to. Versus
That's
like
true.
I know I can't throw a fireball.
That sounds like
right?
Overeem talking about eating his horse meat to get big.
But bears,
Beer.
Essence.
The Oso.
like so what else do you nerd out? Any comic books? Any video games?
Comic books. So video games, yeah. I play.
Play or you played?
Play.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I just right now I'm playing FIFA because it's easy and it doesn't take up much brain space. So you can actually play FIFA and do other things at the same time. But I played
And soccer?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's soccer.
Sorry, all right.
I played Fallout 4. I still have that at home actually. I played it. I recently completed it, I guess. And then what else? What's the
I
name?
have
of
Fallout 3 at home. Is that worth playing?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All Fallout games are not really. That's not true. Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas. Those are the ones you want to be
Fallout
playing.
3. Actually, Alistair gave me
Fallout 1 and
Shout
2
out.
are classics, especially
Yeah, those are
Fallout
classics.
2.
I didn't play
but
those
they don't
back in the
age
day.
as well
Yeah.
now.
But can I
Fallout-
pick it up, play it for 20, 30 minutes and walk away, come back, pick it up? Or is it like
Yeah, it would
time
take a
investment
while,
game?
though. It would take a while to beat it.
You need maybe a 2-hour session at least.
Okay.
Yeah, and I probably put in like maybe almost 100 hours into.
Oh, okay. I
I
should not play that game.
over the course of like 2 years though, so it's not like yeah. Because I never buy unless it's FIFA. I never buy any video games new. I buy them like 2 years after because it's always cheaper.
Yeah, always,
and
yeah.
who am I kidding? I don't really have time to be. I don't have that much time to play video
Yeah,
games.
you're saving
so,
lives, dude.
Yeah,
We're breaking arms.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
So FIFA, you turn off, or do you?
And then FIFA you can play for 10 minutes. Cause,
It's
it's
soccer
a
game.
soccer game. Exactly.
But wait, hang on. Don't soccer games last
90
like-
minutes, but it's a game.
All
It's a
the
video
games,
game.
they do
so it's
accelerated.
scaled.
Oh, they do?
They
Okay.
all do
Yeah.
accelerate.
Oh,
Otherwise,
it's like Punch Out, where it's like the clock's like dook, 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 and it's like
Exactly.
supposed to be 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no,
exactly.
it goes a lot faster
Yeah.
because I don't think they could ever make a soccer game that was that
Yeah, who's
realistic
gonna-
where you could only score like 1 or 2 goals in a 90
90
period.
minutes. Yeah, that's be hard.
Is
yeah.
FIFA like NBA Jam though, where there's like it's a score of like
No,
30 to?
they
No,
made
no.
they made
It's
FIFA
a
Street, which
very
is a little more arcade.
yeah.
But they're
Okay.
trying to simulate.
But it's a
Okay.
it's a very loyal sim. It's actually amazing that they've managed it. But
I
they-
think I've seen it on demo, and I'm like, man, like it looks like it's just a soccer game.
Yeah.
Right? Like it just
yeah, but
you
it
can control
plays very, very well. It's high level stuff, man. It makes you start thinking about simulation theory, like real life is a simulation because they have actually simulated it very, very well. Yeah.
Ooh, so have you seen the Black Mirror?
Yeah, have I seen? Yes, because I've seen every single thing that Black Mirror has put out.
Okay, like there's
The hang the,
Street
DJ.
Fighter. No, well, there's that one. But there's like the Street Fighter one, which is like
where he's yeah,
a little weird. Right?
That's funny. Yeah, I seen that one. That's
we don't need to get that far into like simulation.
That's interesting. It's a great concept. It's a great concept.
It's awesome,
yeah.
right? Like,
yeah.
I like the
episode is
meltdown
very
one,
good.
the social media one.
Oh yeah, that's a
Wait,
great
hang on,
one.
which one's that?
That's a great
Is
one.
that
the one
Bryce
with
Dallas
the,
Howard?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great one as well. Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is like probably
That's
one of the
like
best
Baldwin
parallels
Park.
for like.
I walk through Baldwin Park and I'm like, yeah, we're pretty much there.
Yo, but
already.
are
Really?
you clicking up or down on them, right? Like, are they influencing you socially good, or I mean, like,
I mean, we started this conversation with did you take the pic with the stripe because we want to get the.
got to get that up,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, so when are you going to, Jovan? I mean, you've already Paul's already taken care of it for you, so.
I mean, I haven't posted anything on social media for.
No, you haven't. You're like terrible at.
Yeah, I am awful, man. I just.
Which is probably better
yeah,
that way.
yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, you know.
The do you? So you don't use social media as a means to stay in contact with folks like back home and stuff?
No, WhatsApp. You know WhatsApp.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you actually physically call people?
Yeah, call them or text. They text me. Yeah, definitely. There are WhatsApp groups. It's great. It's great. It's very
That's
easy.
like every non-American I know
Uses
is a
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp user.
Which is owned by Facebook.
Facebook.
I
Yeah,
know, which
yeah,
everyone
it is.
hates.
Right?
Which is it's crazy. It's very interesting, but I don't know. I think WhatsApp allows for like direct contact, whereas Facebook you're like broadcasting to the whole world.
Yeah.
And
Like,
everybody's like New Year, New Me, and they're exchanging memes, and I'm like, oh my god, so many memes. I'm like, this is too much. Whereas WhatsApp is more focused, and like, okay, this is relevant.
wait, WhatsApp's mind you, I don't know.
It's a
what
messenger
WhatsApp
app.
It's a messenger
just
app,
a
yeah.
Oh, it's literally just
It's
it's
a
like
messenger.
direct communication.
It's like America.
But
It's like America Online.
It's encrypted and they don't store the messages anywhere.
Hang on, does Facebook Messenger do that?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
And they're
that.
data mining the fuck out of you.
Out of my conversation with you regarding all this nonsense?
They're
Yeah,
building
bro.
this profile.
Really?
They're building a profile.
Yeah, that's why you'll talk to me about. I'm sure they're trying to sell you geese all the time.
Dude.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I'm sure they're trying to sell you geese all the
so
time.
right now they're trying to sell me barbells.
Yeah, so they're not trying to sell me any gi. They're trying to send me random stuff because I never post anything. But then people may or may not post something, and they may look at it, and then they try to send me that stuff later. So like, I don't know, kitchen equipment, knives, whatever. But yeah,
Do you need a kitchen equipment or not?
I mean, you've heard the classic story of
I was
of
just
a-
talking about whatever, and then
no, the classic story of
the spider web, dude.
I know that I was looking at that thing on the microphone.
It's like a hologram. Sorry.
I don't know, but there's something hovering in the light. So
It's actually 2:35.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna wrap it up.
Disney days for tomorrow for me.
Yay! So what was I talking about?
When are we doing Super Saiyan?
Oh.
Or Naruto?
let me know. Either one, I'm good. Let me know whichever weekend, bro. Just text me and let me know if I'm not working. I'm there.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
awesome.
If I'm not working, I'm there, man. Easy peasy.
So are you good about eating? What's your
I
dietary
I will eat anything.
preferences?
I will eat anything. I've been trying to. So there have been a lot of studies about like keto is good, and there have been studies about plant-based diet is good, and there have been studies that intermittent fasting is good.
Oh, boy.
It gets to the point now where my approach is, if you want to find something and then justify, you can find studies that support
Sure,
that.
yeah.
You know, I'm sure. Have you seen that Netflix documentary?
The Game Changers?
The Game Changers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Man, I rolled my ass so hard. But different things. So my approach now is I will eat pretty much anything in moderation. But that's just me, and that's just coming out of the lack of convincing evidence.
Okay, so can you outwork a bad diet, Jovan?
you can,
Dr. Jovan.
So can't you can. So I don't think anyone knows the answer to that question, which is part of the problem and why it's so
Our
frustrating. to deal
previous
with.
guest did.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Dr. Yoga John,
Yeah.
our new competition coordinator for Tribe Martial Arts
Oh,
in Orlando,
sweet.
9318 Orlando. He says you can't outwork a bad diet.
I would love to talk to him about that. No.
I would love for you guys to talk to each
Yeah.
other and fight each other about it.
Yeah, because I can't fight about this because I don't have any convincing evidence on my side. This is part of the problem with this is that, so you know, like if you want to figure out if a drug works, randomized control study, you put 2,000 people on one side, 2,000 on the other. For the first 2,000, you give them the drug. The next 2,000, you do
I
whatever.
love how you just threw that out. You know, randomized.
Whatever you were doing before. With dietary science, that's impossible to do. You can't.
There's too much individual variation.
Exactly. So there's
You can't control the parameters. There are too many independent parameters.
So one, there's individual variation in terms of this person might eat this, but then he might also work out, and then this person might not eat this, or this person might eat this and they live in in South America, where it is, or he lives in Jamaica, where it's warm, and this person eats it, and he lives up in Norway, where it's cold half the year, right? So there's so many factors that even the population studies only generate at best low quality evidence, right? And then there's things that people might call, like just conventional wisdom, like processed foods are bad because chemicals are bad. But then the medications we take are all chemicals.
It's all
as
chemical.
Well.
That's
it's all
what I'm like,
chemical.
yeah, come
so
on, guys.
there is kind of no convincing evidence, and there's no convincing evidence on the other side. But there are. So, for example, if you think about it as a fact, so the who was it? I can't remember the board. One of those very large advisory boards did a study that showed that processed meat increased the risk of colon cancer. Now, no matter how much working out you're doing, you're not going to reverse the risk of colon cancer if you eat processed meat, and processed meat does in fact cause a risk. So, in that sense, then you
define processed meat.
It's like
nitrates and stuff.
Nitrates and other stuff that was added to kind of enhance the
Gotcha.
flavor of the food. So bacon,
Fuck my life.
sausage, or anything else like canned food, stuff like that. So in that sense, then no, you can't work a bad diet. But I think the general consensus has to be that more varied diet with plant foods and appropriate amounts of protein and fats is better for you than a lopsided diet, which is, all fats, or just eating randomly and indiscriminately, eating too much or
So
not
is
eating
that
enough.
okay?
Or,
I have a completely non-scientific based
Yeah.
who over the years has sort of determined diet to me, and even supplementation to a certain degree, is like the idea of it is like, I call it the extra credit theory. Right, like generally the people who ask for extra credit when you're in school are people who don't need it.
Correct.
Right, like it's just the fact is,
And
it's
I
It's
agree
to win
as well.
more. It's
I
like you
agree.
win more.
I
they're
100%.
successful because they're mindful about what they're doing, right?
I think so, and that is a huge confounder in the studies. For example, if you're going to study vegan people, so if you're a vegan, you probably exercise. If you're vegan because of health reasons, you probably also exercise. You probably also don't smoke. You probably also have additional health promoting behaviors. If you eat bacon if you eat bacon 3 times a day, and and fries 3 times a day, then you probably aren't great about working out, because if you just think it, like
if you were thinking about working out, you'd be
then you
not eating bacon.
Exactly, because sometimes eventually, so like in your own, like, have you been working on trying to lose weight, and then somebody says you got to adjust a diet, and then you also adjust diet, and then you're losing weight, so you keep those behaviors together, and that's why it's so hard to study, because of that confounder. People who eat healthy also have other healthy behaviors, so it's different to isolate and study only eating healthy,
Yeah, right. Unless you force them to somehow.
Yeah.
Not change any other behaviors in their life,
and then
that's the only variable
thing that they're doing, which is
So you basically need like thousands of clones that
have programmed behavior.
or you don't have clones, but the closest thing you have is twins, and they do twin concordant studies, but I don't think they've ever done any about diet.
Ooh.
But
it's like one twin's like, oh, I got the healthy diet.
yeah, which is also kind of unethical. Right? You can't feed somebody crap just to see what it does to them.
So that was something that I had considered doing with Connor. Whereas I was like, I'm gonna try to teach him behaviorally, like everything opposite. Like yes means no.
Oh my god!
And like I was like, all right, so how do I like? And then like, have you ever seen the movie? It's like Jodie Foster was like raised in the woods or something.
What movie is that?
Nelly.
Is it Nelly?
Yeah,
Nell.
And she's like, she
and
can't
she'd say "pay in the wind," "chicka pay," and all
she,
this
like,
stuff.
She like can't learn language and like all of this stuff. They find her as like an adult, right? And she's been like I forgot what
She's a wildling.
She's basically like a feral human. I'm like, can you train that out of somebody, right? Like, and because I have this like idea of like nature versus nurture and how much.
So that's very interesting, and part of the reason why is they call neuroplasticity, meaning the ability of the brain to make new connections and I guess learn new things, and that declines as you get older, which is why it's easier. Like you can. So if I spend 500 hours teaching you Spanish when you're 5, you will speak fluently, no accent. if you spend $500 teaching, if you spend $500 learning Spanish now, you will probably have a strong accent.
you'll sound like-
So it's part. So based off things like that and our current understanding of
That's what scares me about it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like cognitive limitations because neural pathways aren't being formed the same way.
And
Yeah,
that's okay. So
that's
like,
the thing,
are you
so-
a believer of like my buddy Alan, who was on the show earlier? He got into higher level education as a doctor of theoretical physics.
Oh, that's awesome. Those
Oh,
guys,
dude.
those guys are the smartest guys in the
Oh,
room, man.
God,
Those guys
he's-
are amazing.
It's insane.
Those guys are amazing. Man. Yeah.
And he's like, man, like, am I getting into it too late because, like, the amount of additional breakthroughs that I'm going to are limited because of my age, you know, and that sort of thing. Like, I don't even know where I'm
I mean,
going
my
with this.
belief is that
You should just try.
and if you enjoy it, that's what matters, and you'll be self-motivated and all that. But I do think that over time, who was I talking about? I was talking with someone that I think over time, I think it was Mike. Physical ability, like let's say athletic output or strength, whatever measurable you want, there's no doubt that it will decline over time as you age.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
I'd agree.
we can't.
literally aging.
That's however, we can slow that rate as much as possible with the good habits we have.
Yep.
And I think that same logic applies to cognitive function.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And there's studies that show that people who are more, well, there's studies that show all kinds of things, but people who are more cognitively engaged have a less chance of developing dementia. But then there's studies that show that high socioeconomic status, high education status also puts you at risk of dementia. So,
High, really?
yeah.
Well, those
Yeah.
are those weird correlations where
Yeah,
it's
so
like, are
then-
these like
that is the
they're
problem as
correlations,
well.
but is there causation there?
Precisely. So that's all, and that is the biggest problem with evidence
So
right now.
you as a doctor,
It is-
how do you go about filtering this stuff to
So-
like for practical application?
So if I'm giving somebody advice, like professional advice, I just flat out say this is what the evidence has. There's evidence that shows this. There's evidence that shows this. There's evidence that shows this. Is there anything there that particularly appeals to you? Then we can discuss the benefits and risks of that particular approach. And I think that's probably the best thing you can do, because there's a quote from a guy he was the editor of New England Journal of Medicine, in 1996. He said, half of the stuff that we have learned in medicine is false or incorrect or inaccurate, but we don't know until several years later through the process of scientific research which half it was. So you have to kind of be prepared to be wrong, not because you don't understand the current evidence, but because the current evidence just is not accurate enough, and there's not enough to kind of draw a solid conclusion, which is kind of a scary thing.
Okay.
You told me like the more you become a doctor, the more of a hypochondriac you become.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So it does that to you, because then you're worried about everything, but then you're also worried about there's no treatment that you can do that's risk free. You know, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, even changing your diet can bring side effects.
Okay.
You know?
Do you want to keep going down this rabbit? Because like going full circle, I just want to say, bringing it back to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You asked this to Dr. Yoga John. Do you study any jiu-jitsu outside of class? Like, do you go down the YouTube?
I used to do that. I used to do that all the time, but then because I've become so busy, I just don't have time.
So what were you looking at?
Yeah, what were your...
Oh, the usual stuff. I have a collection of videos from like what's my boy's name? GSP's coach.
Faraz
Zahabi. Yeah, his total just I love that. It's very nice. There's this other dude named Riley Bodycomb who has a leg box series.
Really?
You know Riley? I actually met that dude. Like,
you really?
Yeah, in
Look at you, name dropping all these shit.
2000 and
If you say you met Matt Thornton, he's gonna like.
He's out of like Southern California though. Like
no, Riley Bodycomb?
Isn't he?
No, he's in New York.
Oh, he's in New... Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a Sambo guy. Did you?
Sambo. No. I went to like a meetup, and he was there. He was like, "Hey, spar with one of my guys." I was like, "Sure." And then I went
the fuck out of you.
No, his guy didn't know. His guy wasn't heel hooking. It was an MMA thing. But then Riley was teaching like heel hooks and other stuff. And yeah, from then I was like, man. So every chance I could get to go train with him, I would. But then I only ended up being twice. So
So interestingly, Riley Bodycomb, Have you ever listened to interviews with him?
No, I haven't. Mm.
So, like, do you know what one of his major? Because, like, at this point, jiu-jitsu and grappling is that's his profession.
Yeah.
But do you know what one of his side hobbies is?
What does he do? Yeah.
He's a game designer, like tabletop game designer.
Really?
Yeah. So he's like, so I think like
sweet.
that element of like analysis has lent itself to him being very good at what he does
Yeah,
because
that's awesome,
it forces him to like understand the parameters in which that competition is, and then like how do I get better at that, right? Like, which is I think why he has a very very well developed leg attack.
Leg attack.
game,
Yeah,
I think.
that's awesome, man.
So you follow Riley, you follow Farhaz, which
yeah.
are both very very good sources of information. Like, do you follow MMA? I mean, you mentioned GSP a handful of times.
Yeah, so I used to I used to follow MMA all the time, but then the CTE thing kind of like I can't, and the hypochondria thing you just mentioned. It's hard to look at these guys getting knocked out and being like, man, is he going to be messed up when he's 45?
Oh, you should have seen the Mike Davis fight
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I haven't
Paul
seen it.
cornered in. So Paul had a weekend where he was suddenly cornering fighters again out of the blue, and one of the fighters was Mike Davis,
Who's out of Daytona?
who's out of Daytona. And this was on the Tampa card. So when there was a fight night in Tampa, headlined by Joanna and I think Michelle Watterson, which was last year, Paul was in the corner of Mike Davies, and he fought this guy, and it was a murder.
It was literally
a murder.
a beating on,
my
on
God.
Mike Davis's behalf.
Yeah.
Yeah, he beat the living shit out of this guy, and he was out on his feet for 3 rounds, and they wouldn't stop the fight. No one threw in the towel until finally the switch got flipped at the very end. But if you watch the highlights, like that guy was like I saw years go off his life. I thought
Like,
it was horrible.
yeah.
And I asked Paul, and he said, "Dude, if you could hear it on TV." Told him, I was like, I could hear it on TV. How bad was it in person? He's like, I'd never seen anything like that. Every shot was super loud.
As hell. Like he's probably the toughest person that I've ever seen in my life. The fact that he was still standing.
I feel like genetically he had something like somehow his body, it was like a Terminator that rewired, like I'm on
Yeah.
auxiliary power.
But that's so much, man. You don't want to be going through that, man. I mean,
no, you don't. I mean, I don't.
Or
I mean,
when you
don't.
or
Like,
when you say a knockout where the guy's down and the guy gets the one extra
like
punch.
that.
No, he gets the one extra punch off where he's out and then he's like lying against the fence and then bam, he gets clipped again. It was bad.
Yeah.
Like
So-
Bisping, Henderson.
yeah. So that creates a problem for me. Like, how much is this?
Morally, or just like
Like to
out of,
watch
like,
so much
self-preservation
so
now?
that it bothers you to watch it.
No, well, it doesn't. But I watch MMA fight and I'll enjoy it. But it's always in the back of my mind, like, man, what are these guys doing to each other? Like, is this really something? Is this gonna mess us up? Like in the future, like 20% of boxers have. I don't know if this is still accurate or if it's updated, but they say 20% of boxers have some kind of brain injury that affects their cognitive function.
How is it not 100%?
That's what I'm saying, right? So I don't know if, and then it kind of bugs me. But then I still watch MMA and I still enjoy it, but.
But that's
It's
a
just
choice
one of
they
those
make.
things. Yeah,
As
it's a
far
choice.
as
Exactly, and I'm not gonna challenge anyone's autonomy. It's you make your own decisions. Absolutely.
So in the long run for you, jiu-jitsu, or in
Yeah.
the long run MMA?
I actually talked about it with my wife. I'm like, yeah, I like competing, I like fighting, but it's probably gonna be jiu-jitsu and wrestling, just because one, it's lower impact, and two, I don't have to cut weight. I'm like cutting weight.
I mean, it depends on who you ask about cutting weight for jiu-jitsu, though. I mean, like,
Yeah, some people do cut weight, but I don't. I mean, but so think about it. You do MMA fighting, you don't cut weight, and you have a guy who's 30 pounds heavier than you, hitting you in the face for 15 minutes. Different from just like getting
Yeah,
submitted.
like,
The stakes are not as high. You know what I'm
like-
saying? So yeah, man.
So I just wanted to do a shout out to Roman. So I texted with Roman.
Roman Pfizerin.
Yeah, you know his
what up,
last
Roman?
name.
wow.
Yeah.
So I asked him if he done any training or if he's seen Chihuahua.
Thiago Alves liked the photo.
Oh, he did?
Oh my
God!
Thiago Alves. Mike Sahibi taking photos.
Yes,
Oh,
I
that's
tagged
so
him. I
yeah,
tagged
it's so
Mike,
great.
and then after I was like, "Well, fuck, let me tag Tiago." Well, shout out to Tiago Silva, man. You should listen to the
Thiago
podcast.
Alves. Jesus
Tiago-
Christ. Oh,
God, yeah.
my God. You just totally did the thing.
Oh, the Pitbull, bro. I was a huge fan of this
Oh,
guy
he's
back
so
in the
awesome.
day.
Dude, when he
Yeah,
fought
yeah, yeah.
GSP, that was
yeah,
like
that was a
big-
good fight. But
was- yeah,
I was rooting for GSP because I'm a huge GSP
I'm
fan.
actually so
But but
I might have to
We're all
edit
on
out.
one.
I
We're
might
all
have
on
to
one.
edit
You
out the
definitely
part.
added that.
edit what out there.
Edit me
Him
saying.
saying Thiago Silva. Who,
That's cool.
different-
Bro.
Sorry, Tiago
That's cool.
Alves.
That's cool.
So, Roman is training.
Nice.
He's in Brooklyn. Manhattan is too far of a commute. He's training with at a gym called the American Killer Bees.
Interesting.
Not familiar with it.
Cool.
But
New York.
That's such a CrossFit name.
But I will.
New York, man.
So I will say that. So apparently, like Marcelo's is like $350 a month.
Oh my god!
The hell? Why?
This is Manhattan.
Oh, Manhattan.
It's,
Okay.
it's Manhattan.
Yeah,
and
it's
Renzo's probably the
RGA is
same.
probably not
Yeah,
much different.
and I'm glad Marcelo is making money.
Sure.
Why not?
So-
There's a
absolutely.
guy who deserves it. Like,
So he
absolutely.
started. He's training a little bit, and I guess settling, and he's studying for the New York bar because
shit, he's gotta take the
there's
new
no
bar.
reciprocity between
Yeah, the
Florida
bar.
and New York, so he has to take the bar again.
Damn, bro. That's
Now, the one thing I will say, this is the quote, a direct quote from it. I thought it was worth sharing. He said, "Paul is a world-class coach. Really missed training with you guys."
awesome. Oh, warms my
So-
heart.
So hang on, we're lifting up Paul. We're not disparaging Killer Bee martial
No,
arts.
we're not.
Let's just clarify.
I like that. Clarify and let's not alienate anybody. Absolutely.
Exactly right. Like
Well, I hope we get to the point where our sound bites get misconstrued on BJJ
Oh, this is
time.
awesome, yes.
Oh, by the
and
way,
then show up in social media.
Yeah, and can you guys please edit out the part where I'm talking smack about the Kung Fu school in Connecticut?
No, that's going in there. That would be too hard to do.
I'm kidding.
So, goals for 2020 as we wrap up.
So I was actually talking to Andrew about this leg locks. Got to learn some leg locks.
all right.
Just because 2020 is like it's the same as 2019, but we're a little bit older, a little bit wiser,
So,
I guess.
are you
But,
available on the weekends before geek class?
maybe
Would you be able to come in an hour earlier?
It depends on what the schedule is like. Some weekends I might not be able to come in at all. Some like today, this is a great weekend. I can just have the whole day to do whatever.
Because
want,
I was
but-
thinking that might be the like instead of trying to do something during the week.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. But
maybe-
you just like text me and then we can.
No,
figure
I
it
know.
out. Yeah.
I'll figure it out. I might try
Yeah.
to do something like JB. You know how JB.
Yeah, his Sunday class that
structures
was like good.
something.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Maybe we'll
'Cause
see.
We need that. We need that, man.
So leg locks.
Leg locks. Yeah, that's my.
What have you been enjoying recently with what you've like in the past year? What is one or some of the techniques that you really enjoyed that really added to your game?
The sweeps off the back, specifically like the what do you call it? Oh my god, the De La Riva sweeps. Mm-hmm. Those have been great. Just like bottom bottom half guard sweeps. Those have also been great. Pretty much any sweep from anywhere except full guard. Yeah. Butterfly, open butterfly guard sweep. Also, I've been working those as well. Those are great. So pretty much any sweep that's not from mount or side control or close guard. Yeah.
Very cool. Final questions or thoughts, Chris?
No. I think we went down all kinds of rabbit
Oh, we
holes.
went down.
We were all over the place. Oh my god.
I mean, we brought up religion, we brought up anime, we brought up a bunch of stuff. So
Video games,
at this point, our audience probably dwindled down.
No, I think but that's the strength of the podcast, right? Like, there's more to talk about in life than just
Oh,
jiu-jitsu.
absolutely. And we don't talk about jiu-jitsu all the time after class. So this is indicative of what we talk about after class.
For sure.
So
Because we're more well-rounded individuals, where everybody's got a story to tell.
Absolutely, man. That's 100% crucial. Being well-rounded, man. It's what you need in life.
So congratulations on the
Yeah,
purple belt.
purple belt, Jovan.
Well deserved. A little round of
Thank you,
applause.
man. Thank you.
We're
Appreciate
super
it.
happy
Super
for you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we're right behind you. For the
All
guys
right.
that are blue, we're right behind you.
Thanks,
so.
man. I look forward to learning more with you guys, man. It's gonna
All
be
right,
great.
man. Thank you.
Actually, I do have a question. So I put you on the spot. I'm teaching class. What are you teaching us?
Oh yeah, that's your.
Oh, I'm teaching class. Oh, I'm teaching.
If I'm teaching class and I'm
And he-
like, Jovan, come out, teach a technique. What are you teaching us?
I teach a takedown. I'll teach one of those. So if it's a gi class, I'm teaching a judo takedown
Like
that
a
you can
drop
easily
The throw?
apply.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a throw, like a like a drop seonagi. Yeah. That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good
What
one.
else?
Yeah,
I
or
mean, okay.
uchimata. Maybe the uchimata
right.
is probably more practical for me. What else? I'm also probably teaching the Peruvian necktie, even though it doesn't work in gi. But I try it all the time, so I figure I should just teach it to everybody so they can like kind of.
Because everybody turtles up on you.
Yeah, and then because the gi physically makes it difficult for me to get my hand in deep, so I just kind of shrug me off. But it worked. But it's good to attempt because, like you said, that people turtle a lot, and it's hard to sometimes get the anaconda or darce. So you can just do the Peruvian necktie like a good split, and then if you can't get, you
Save
can
this
switch
for your
to
lesson,
outside.
Jovan. This is good.
Sorry,
This is
yeah,
good.
you can switch to a half guard guillotine if
Okay.
you don't get a necktie. So
Damn, look at this guy. He's got a system. He's got a system in place. nice.
The Gale system of neckties and darces.
It's good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, we've probably talked way longer than I expected.
This is awesome. Thank you, Jovan.
Yeah. Thank you guys, man. This was awesome, man, for sure.